letters from the company citing defamation.
In news from the rest of the world, Hurricane Ernesto expected to batter Bermuda with storm force winds up to 36 hours.
Ukraine incursion destroys a key Russian bridge.
And in headline sports, second cricket test between West Indies and South Africa and Guyana, interestingly poised after 2 days.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, a magnitude 5.3 earthquake struck Jamaica today. It's the second moderate quake to rock the country in less than a year. Should we be concerned? Professor of Sedimentary Geology Simon Mitchell and the Acting Director General of ODPEM Richard Thompson will tell us.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask, where were you when the earthquake struck this morning? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, Vibes Cartel is set to take the stage on December 31. This will be his first major performance in 13 years. It may mark a significant moment for dancehall. Can the self-styled world boss still deliver? Professor of Culture, Gender and Society at UWI, Donna Hope, anthropologist Kingsley Ragashanti Stewart, and cultural commentator Clyde McKenzie will join us.
At 7, Kamala Harris has called for millions in help for new home owners, tax breaks for families, and a ban on price gouging as she lays out her economic agenda heading into the presidential election. You'll hear more.
We'll have all these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90FM, nationwideradiojm.com, and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Friday afternoon, it's Friday, August 16, 2024.
News at 5 is brought to you by Fostrich Company Limited, fostering rich customer service.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. The man seen in a viral video threatening the life of Prime Minister Andrew Holness and residents of Clarendon is alleged to have a history of mental illness. The 20-year-old man, who has not been named, was arrested Thursday night in Manchester. As we hear in this report from Mahiri Stewart, his threatening rhetoric in this week's viral video is not the first time he's come to the attention of law enforcement.
In a video posted to the popular social media site TikTok, the man can be seen wearing a pink balaclava. He hurls insults and threats at the Prime Minister, his wife, and residents of Clarendon. The video circulated in the aftermath of the Cherry Tree Lane massacre, which claimed 8 lives and 9 others injured. The video was posted to an account bearing the username Akeem Blake 79. On Wednesday, Acting Commissioner of Police Fitz Bailey indicated law enforcement was aware who was behind the account.
We have identified the individual, somebody who has been on our radar before, and efforts are now being made to take him into custody. The investigation is well advanced.
On Thursday, lawmen nabbed the suspect. He reportedly injured himself trying to escape. Nationwide sources are now revealing that the man may have had a history of mental illness and threatening behavior. It's understood the man has frequently threatened the mental health staff at a medical facility in Manchester. Our sources say on at least one occasion, the man issued a public threat to murder school children. This led to widespread public panic across sections of Manchester ahead of the start of the new school year. It's understood medical personnel have repeatedly raised concern that the man is a danger to himself and to others. At least one doctor had a run-in with him where he was said to be armed with a dangerous weapon. Sources say relatives are allegedly not ensuring the man visits the medical facility often enough for his prescribed treatment. When our news team reached out to the police for a comment on the record, they declined, noting that charges had yet to be laid. Medical staff also declined to comment on the matter. It's understood the man remains under police guard. Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
The University Hospital of the West Indies says the majority of the patients visiting the emergency room in recent days have required admission due to non-communicable diseases. The number, close to 50, has forced the hospital to announce a temporary hold on the transfer of non-emergency cases from other institutions. Medical Chief of Staff at the hospital, Dr. Carl Bruce, provided an update. Kimon Thompson reports.
The hospital announced the transfer suspension on Thursday, saying the institution was at full capacity. Speaking on Nationwide this morning on Friday, Dr. Bruce says there's been a significant increase in the number of patients visiting the emergency room. He says 90% of them present with complications from chronic, non-communicable diseases.
What we've been seeing for the last few days is that we have close to 50 patients who we have triaged, we have stabilized, and who need a bed for admission. So you can imagine what we have done is we've brought in extra stretchers, etc., and we've seen all of the patients. But once we've seen them, we have now gotten to the point where we can move them to the ward to take in the next batch of patients because of the volume that we're seeing. And they are mainly medical patients, as we call them, from internal medicine, diabetes, hypertension, asthma, pneumonia, stroke, cardiac problems. So the chronic non-communicable lifestyle diseases, if you wish.
As a result, UHWI is requesting that all private and public hospitals, as well as nursing homes, retain stable patients until the situation improves. The hospital says it continues to provide care for emergency cases and will accept critically ill patients who require immediate attention. Those patients will be transferred directly to the critical care unit as needed. Dr. Bruce says this is the reason UHWI issued an advisory to its partners at other healthcare facilities to inform them of the transfer suspension. He says the advisory only affects the transfer of stable patients.
We were at pains to put in the word transfer and to explain transfer, and we actually went back and said, make sure people understand it's from private hospitals, public hospitals, nursing homes, patients who are stable. We really want to highlight that because our emergency patients are who we want to make sure that we have an available bed, a stretcher for them when they arrive.
Kimon Thompson, Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, the opposition People's National Party, PNP, is calling for the Ministry of Health to be transparent and forthcoming about the state of healthcare in Jamaica. Spokesman on Health, Dr. Alfred Dawes, says this comes in light of the University Hospital of the West Indies, UHWI, ceasing transfers from all other hospitals and private health facilities. In a statement on Friday, Dr. Dawes says the decision confirms the health sector is in what he describes as a state of crisis.
The Ministry of Health immediately needs to advise the nation of how they plan to address this crisis. We need to know what the short-term measures are and what are the long-term goals in order to get back the public health sector to one that is functional, where we can have referrals of the sickest patients occurring seamlessly. Given the fact that the Cornwall Regional Hospital has been out of commission for the greater part of 8 years, and now the University Hospital is not taking any transfers from public or private hospitals, we are left with a situation where only the already overburdened Kingston Public Hospital is left to shoulder the weight of the entire healthcare system in Jamaica, both public and private.
Dr. Dawes has made the claim that what is being witnessed today is the worst state Jamaica's health sector has been in since Cornwall Regional Hospital was built over 50 years ago. He warns that if any major health incident should occur, every receiving hospital would be instantly overwhelmed.
We're going to see a situation where the morbidity and the mortality rates are going to go up across the island if we cannot get back to the situation where the sickest patients can be transferred to a type A hospital. I urge all Jamaicans to be extremely cautious as you go about your daily lives, because if emergency care is needed, it will most likely not be at the usual standard, leading to greater risk to your lives. We can only pray at this point that things return to some semblance of normalcy, given the gravity of the situation.
Dr. Alfred Dawes, opposition spokesman for health and wellness.
At least 3 employees of King Alarm who accused the entity of victimization, overwork, poor compensation, and inadequate working conditions have received letters from the company citing defamation. The employees made the accusation against a security company during a protest in June. Shalois Michael has that story.
The employees say the letters from King Alarm accuse them of making defamatory statements about the company and disseminating the entity's confidential information into the public domain. Speaking on Nationwide this morning on Friday, King Alarm boss John Azar confirmed that the employees were issued the letters.
3 persons, to my knowledge, have received letters because, as I'm sure you guys will appreciate, the right for somebody to protest is their right. Freedom of speech is somebody's right. But one cannot use that to then go in the public space and knowingly make what may be false and defamatory statements about somebody else. So I'm on your show here. Obviously, I have the freedom of speech to express myself, but I'm sure if in doing so, I made comments which were untrue or defamatory against either of you, you could exercise your right to protect your reputation and your brand.
The letter says effective immediately, the employee has been relieved from duty with pay until Wednesday, July 31, 2024, the date by which the company said it expected to receive a response from the worker. According to the letter, should any of the charges against the employee be made out, there will be sufficient reason for the company to terminate the employee. The termination would be with immediate effect, without notice or payment in lieu of notice, based on the seriousness of the offense. Mr. Azar says the King Alarm took action because of previous efforts by the company to remedy the issue failed.
Have you asked them to apologize?
Absolutely.
And they've refused?
Well, let's backtrack a little bit, George.
Yes.
In my interview on June 17, I said if I was in the island, I'd have met with them.
Yeah, man, you said that.
Okay. I got back to the island 2 days later. I had a staff meeting where I was in attendance 7 o'clock in the morning, and the 3 individuals in question chose to walk out of that meeting because somebody was a former employee of the company was not allowed into a staff meeting.
Yes, I was told that.
I met with the 3 of them myself at the bottom of the staircase, and I said, gentlemen, it's a mandatory staff meeting. Are you certain you want to leave?
Mm-hmm.
The 3 of them exited the meeting.
Mr. Azar is still calling on the employees to respond to the letter from the company. Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Mr. Azar says lawsuits for defamation are also being considered.
Don't be surprised if persons receive a separate lawsuit for defamation in relation to statements made about the company, because part of my job is defending the brand of King Alarm. If you, George, say something unknowingly about King Alarm, that's fine.
Yes.
If you go on the airways and make statements that you know are not true, you know they're not true, and you know they're defamatory, I'm not going to sit back and allow you to do that. I've worked too hard.
John Azar, Managing Director of King Alarm.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is...
It's 15 minutes after 5.
Rent-to-Kill Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rent-to-Kill Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rent-to-Kill is...
It's 33 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 in Montego Bay.
It's an exciting time for real estate developers and investors as the Greater Bernard Lodge divestment enters phase 4 of its divestment process. Offering residential townhouse lots for sale. Over 22.8 acres of dedicated townhouse blocks will be offered in a competitive divestment process. Visit bernardlodgeja.com for more info or give us a call at 876-929-4000. Be a part of the new and promising township by investing in Greater Bernard Lodge. Bids open in August 2024.
Continuing the news. More Jamaicans are expressing a desire to share information related to criminal activities across the country. That's according to the chair of Crime Stop Jamaica, Sandra Glasgow. She notes that more than 1,000 tips on criminal activities were received by the organization last year.
Our numbers fluctuate, could almost be described as seasonal, because at some times of the year, for example, like the Olympics were on and people were busy watching TV, we may not get as many tips as we might have got at another time. But we keep track of our information, the tips that we received. Last year, over 1,000 people contacted us. We sent over 1,065 pieces of information to the police. We paid out over $10 million in rewards last year. And very interestingly, only 4% of the people who contacted us last year asked for a reward.
Ms. Glasgow says the frustration of Jamaicans with the level of crime in the country has resulted in an increased willingness to pass on information to authorities.
We have found over the years between 4 and 6%. Maybe I think in 1 year it went up to 8% of the people who called us to give us information requested a reward. I think what is the driving force is citizens' desire to live in a country that is devoid of crime. We never get rid of crime, but we all want to live in communities that are safe, and I think these people will give the information. If they have information, they will share it.
Sandra Glasgow, the chair of Crime Stop Jamaica. A $25 million fund is now available for information related to the recent mass killing in Cherry Tree Lane, 4 Parts in Clarendon. The rewards, ranging from $1 to $1.5 million per person, will be available to those who give information that leads to the arrest of those responsible for the attack. Tips can be shared with Crime Stop at 311, the JDF tip line at 876-837-8888, or Mocha's anonymous tip line at 888-MOCHA-TIP, that's 888-662-2847.
The Kingston Western Police have listed the names of 9 men who are wanted in connection with a number of crimes committed across the division. The police did not disclose the nature of the crimes, but they say Samuel Grant, otherwise called Hubby, Navado Lyons, otherwise called Guan Bad, Rohan Tomlinson, otherwise called Popsy, Shavasio Magichi, otherwise known as Will, David Simmons, otherwise called Troy, Keon Campbell, otherwise called Wicked, a man known only as Bogari, Clive Wallace, and A.J. Vickers are all persons of interest. The men are being asked to report to the Denham Town Criminal Investigations Branch, CIB, by 12 noon on Saturday, August 17. Persons with information about any of the 9 men are being asked to make contact with the Denham Town CIB at 948-6443 or Crime Stop at 311. Persons may also contact the police 119 emergency number or the nearest police station.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Emergency preparations in Bermuda are now at a heightened level as Hurricane Ernesto is fast approaching. The hurricane is expected to batter the island with up to 36 hours of sustained storm force winds. The island's Minister of National Security, Michael Weeks, said dangerous weather conditions will begin this afternoon and last throughout tomorrow and into early Sunday. He said the Emergency Measures Organization met again this morning and decided to close several key roadways and activate emergency shelters. Hurricane Ernesto is packing winds of up to 100 miles per hour. It's moving to the north-northeast at 14 miles per hour. The hurricane is not a threat to Jamaica.
Ukraine has destroyed a strategically important bridge in Russia as it continues its incursion into the country's Kursk region. Russian officials have been quoted as saying the operation near one of its towns has cut off part of the local district. The bridge was used by the Kremlin to supply its troops. However, its destruction could hamper their efforts. President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukrainian troops were strengthening their positions in Kursk and called the captured territories an exchange fund. This means that captured territories could be swapped for Ukrainian regions occupied by Moscow. Now in its second week, this is Ukraine's deepest incursion into Russia since Moscow launched its full-scale invasion more than 2 years ago. Ukraine's surprise cross-border operation has resulted in more than 120,000 people fleeing to safety. But amid Ukrainian claims of territorial gains, Kyiv has repeatedly maintained it does not wish to occupy Russia.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour. The man seen in a viral video threatening the life of the Prime Minister and residents of Clarendon is alleged to have a history of mental illness.
UHWI announces a temporary hold on the transfer of non-emergency cases from other institutions.
There's been a significant increase in the number of patients visiting the hospital's emergency room with non-communicable diseases.
The PNP's Dr. Alfred Dawes calls on the Ministry of Health to be transparent and forthcoming about the state of healthcare in Jamaica.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
News at 5 was brought to you by Fostrich Company Limited, fostering rich customer service.
Hey, did you know that the Jamaica Stock Exchange has a loyalty program?
No, what at?
Well, as a JSE Loyalty Club member, you are now able to earn rewards when you shop at any of the participating merchants island-wide.
But I don't own any stocks and I'm not a member.
No problem, man. Join the program by downloading the JSE Loyalty app, activate your account, and start racking up points with every purchase. Redeem points for goods and services at any participating merchant or choose to convert them into stocks.
So what if I already have stocks?
That's even better. Yeah. It means that you are pre-enrolled on the program. You only need to download the app and activate. Start your portfolio, grow your portfolio, join our loyalty program, and earn, save, or invest. The Jamaica Stock Exchange, where loyalty builds financial performance.
Rhino Jamaica Limited invites all industry professionals to its pumps and septic tank seminar, calling all plumbers, electricians, contractors and hardwares to join us on August 20th in Montego Bay and in Kingston on August 22nd. Registration is free, so you don't want to miss. WhatsApp us at 876-551-6565 or see the press and social media for details.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. The second cricket test between the West Indies and South Africa at Providence in Guyana was interestingly poised that closed on day 2. The Proteas, batting a second time, closed on 223 for 5. That's an overall lead of 239, with Kyle Vereen 50 and Wian Mulder 34, sharing in an unbroken 6-wicket stand of 84. Aiden Markram has so far top scored with 51 against Jaden Seals, a 3 for 52. And Gudakesh Moti 2 for 61. Earlier, South Africa took a slim 16-run first innings lead after bowling out the West Indies for 144 early on the second day. Former captain Jason Holder 54 and Shamar Joseph 25 held up the South Africans as the Windies added 47 runs for their last 3 wickets. Mulder 4 for 32, Nandre Berger 3 for 49 and Keshav Maharaj 2 for 8 bagged the wickets for South Africa. Jamaica's national under-17 boys cricket team will be back in action at the West Indies Rising Stars 2-day league competition in Trinidad and Tobago tomorrow. The young Jamaicans will face the Windward Islands at Gilbert Park. Jamaica lost their opening game of the tournament on Thursday. They went down by an innings and 14 runs to Barbados. The 2024-25 Jamaica Cricket Association Senior Cup season bowls off tomorrow with 10 games. In the Western Zone, Hanover takes on Trelawney at Russell's High, while St. James will play Westmoreland at Jarrett Park. The Central Zone will feature Clarendon against Manchester at Sir P. Oval and St. Catherine against St. Elizabeth at Port Esquivel. Meanwhile, the defending champions JDF will welcome St. Mary to Up Park Camp, and St. Anne will play Portland at the Port Road Sports Centre in the Eastern Zone. St. Catherine CC will welcome St. Thomas to Shedwin Park, Boys Town entertaining Kingston at Collie Smith Drive in Surrey 1 Zone, and in Surrey 2 it will feature Melbourne against KSAC and Kensington against Police. Joshua Jerky emerged from the bench to score an 87th-minute winner as former champions Manchester United beat Fulham 1-0 in the opening game of the new English Premier League season at Old Trafford today. Eric Ten Hag's side was frustrated by the Cottagers at Old Trafford until the Dutch international, signed from Bologna over the summer, popped up with a late goal.
Xerxes with space in which to operate. Casemiro, Garnacho and McTominay! Xerxes wheels away. He's made his mark on opening night and the sense of palpable relief around a packed Old Trafford.
In tomorrow's fixtures, Ipswich Town will host Liverpool in the first game at 6:30 Jamaica time tomorrow morning. In other games, Arsenal will welcome Wolverhampton Wanderers to the Emirates, Everton at home at Goodison Park to Brighton and Hove Albion. Newcastle will entertain Southampton. Nottingham Forest will tussle with Bournemouth, and West Ham, the clash of the Jamaicans here. Mikel Antonio for West Ham against Aston Villa with the outstanding player Leon Bailey. Paris Olympic bronze medal winner Rajendra Campbell won the men's shot put at a Continental Tour meeting in Germany today. Campbell won with 21 meters 64. He finished ahead of Scott Lincoln of Great Britain, 20 meters 74. White House and Fairfield United will meet, just going back here to a bit of cricket, will meet in the semi-final 1 of the SDF National Community T20 Cricket Competition at Ultimate Oval in St. Anne on Sunday. Semi-final 2 will see Lynx taking on Junction Ballards Valley. In the Masters competition, Portland Masters will lock horns with Angels before Meadowbrook take on Bushy Park at the same venue. Those games are tomorrow. And finally, in sports at this time, British number 2, Cameron Norrie, has withdrawn from the US Open because of the forearm injury, which also prevented him playing in the Olympic Games in Paris. Norrie says he plans to take some rest and recharge, and added on Instagram that he can't wait to get back to competing. With Andy Murray's retirement, Jack Draper and Dan Evans are currently the only British men in the main draw in New York. The final Grand Slam of the year starts on August 26th, and that will do it for sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Can you imagine getting a marketable skill for free? Your government has made it possible for anyone wanting to learn a skill to get free training through the Heart and STA Trust. Learn a new skill and expand your horizons.
The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:30.
It's back to school time, and Access Financial Services is making it easier for you to get full marks. Whether it's for school supplies, uniforms, or tuition fees, we've got you covered with loans up to $3 million. Enjoy reduced interest rates, and here's the best part, no guarantor needed. So get ready to tackle the new school year with confidence with a back-to-school loan from Access Financial Services. Get the financial boost you need to succeed. Apply at www.accessfinanceonline.com or call 929-9253. Conditions apply.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Does your bra ride up your back? Do your shoulders hurt from carrying the weight of your breasts? These are signs of an ill-fitting bra. Wear When was the last time you were fitted by a bra fit specialist? The bra experts at La Belle Femme will take care of you. Drop into the store at 53 Lady Musgrave Road, Tuesdays to Saturdays from 10 to 5, and you will see the difference. Or call 876-622-6091.
You deserve a beautiful home. Join the expert Karen Booker, your design diva, this and every Saturday at 1 to 2 p.m. here on Nationwide 90 FM. Learn what's really behind the design. Access insights and hacks that'll have your home looking like it was snatched from a magazine cover. From cushions to curtains, choosing colors to carpets, Karen will teach you the secret of the pros. That's the Design Studio every Saturday at 1 p.m. here on Nationwide 90.
Come join us outside with Pepita. Every Saturday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. right here on Nationwide 90 FM. We bring you the views, the news, and we'll be cruising all around Jamaica.
Surprise them with a bang.
Where the hot spots, raindrops, sunshine, we'll be there. Don't diss it, don't miss it. Outside with Pepita.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team. Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Good afternoon. It's 5:34 and welcome to this TGIF edition of Nationwide at 5 and the cover story. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And I'm Sanjay Lewis. How are you, Siobhan?
Doing quite well. It's been quite a week and we're ending it with what? A quake, apparently.
I know. Oh, yes. It's always an eventful time in this country.
Well, that's where we're going to kick it off with, listeners. A magnitude 5.3 earthquake struck Jamaica's northeast region today at 8:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. According to the earthquake unit at the University of the West Indies, Mona, the epicenter of the tremor was located approximately 6 kilometers northeast of Golden Spring in St. Andrew, with a focal depth of 27 kilometers.
The quake was felt island-wide, prompting the Office of the Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, to issue a reminder to the public on earthquake safety. There's been no reports of damage or injuries from the tremor. A 3.7 earthquake tremor struck the island on July 16.
Its epicenter was located approximately 10 kilometers south of Hope Bay in Portland. This latest seismic activity serves as a reminder for Jamaicans to be prepared and take necessary precautions during earthquakes. And to discuss further, we are joined by Professor of Sedimentary Geology Simon Mitchell and Acting Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management Richard Thompson. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon. Good evening, yeah.
So let me start with you, Professor Mitchell. I noticed now that we seem to be having more frequent tremors. Is that a sign of concern? Is there anything to be gleaned from that?
Well, what we have been seeing is a lot of tremors associated with the large earthquakes that we actually had in northern Portland. And so what we've actually had is 3 sets of earthquakes relatively close together. And I use those terms 3 because they're slightly different faults. So first of all, we had a set in St. Thomas. Then we had the big set, which basically has lasted, well, up to the last little one in northern Portland. And now we got this one, and this has jumped to a different fault. I still need to see the proper solution because Kevin at the earthquake unit will produce a better solution for it so we can actually see what it is. But what it suggests is move to another fault which is further to the west. Now that would suggest that we're seeing movement of the fault zones from the east towards the west, which I'm not very comfortable with. Let me just put it that way.
Why do you say that?
My concern is that the biggest faults that can move in Jamaica are the south coast faults. And probably the south coast fault is probably the biggest one. Now, if we're seeing movement going along this, it could put stress on that, and I wouldn't be particularly happy to see that move. Remembering, we're talking about 5s at the moment, but 6 is 10 times the energy, 7 is 100 times the energy, and we really don't need to see that. Probably ever, but certainly not in the near future. And my little concern is that we're starting to see this stress building up along the north, basically in the northern part of Jamaica. I thought it might end in the Blue Mountains, and that structure might do that, but I have to look at this one today and actually see where that was and what the nature of that fault was, and so I can understand it. But we don't have that information yet, and that will only come probably by tomorrow, so we can understand that.
Well, just based on your knowledge, Professor Mitchell, and what you've seen thus far, we could see a much bigger one soon.
Well, there could be nothing. Okay, we could just have it fizzle out, or we could see more quakes going on. And particularly since today's was a 5.3, we'll probably see some aftershocks related to that. It doesn't mean we're going to get a big one, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be prepared. And I think being prepared is the most important thing.
And I believe that's where you come into play, Mr. Thompson. I realize that I believe the last one we had earlier in July was more of a significant test of our disaster preparedness. So how are things shaping up on that front?
Well, I mean, we're always at a heightened sense of preparedness. You know, as I keep saying that we live in a very active earthquake zone. We are on a very active Caribbean plate, bordered by the North American plate. We sit on a microplate, which makes us very active. And because seismology is one of those unpredictable acts of nature, we can always have a big one. It can happen at any time. And so it stands to reason that we have to prepare. We have to be prepared. And part of preparedness is ensuring that we are building resilience, structural resilience. And it goes from ensuring that there is a modern code system that allows us to build to seismic standards and doing seismic engineering. And so that's one of the aspects of preparation. And also on the soft side, to ensure that we are constantly doing our drills. You know, we could use the George and Said from this morning as part of a good video as to how to respond in an earthquake. You know, in terms of the drop, cover, hold operation that we always preach for persons as it relates to what to do whenever time there's an earthquake. So the drills that allows it to become common nature or commonplace, and also to ensure that we are building in structural resilience. So that has been happening in terms of getting the information out there to the general public, and to ensure that from a development standpoint and from a urban planning and rural planning standpoint, that we're building in resilience in terms of how we engineer our structures.
So may I ask a question on that? How happy are you seeing all these high-rises going up in Kingston? Do you think that they are compliant with the appropriate building codes to survive earthquakes?
So from the planning standpoint, all the high-rises that are development that are going up, those once they are part of the formal building process, right? I'm sure that the local authorities are ensuring that these buildings are in keeping with the building code that we have put in and that we are monitoring.
That's an interesting question asked by the professor. I would like to follow up on that. I had another question, but I can get back to that later. But what part does ODPEM play in terms of the building codes, for example, inspection and ensuring that these properties and buildings are up to spec?
So we don't do inspections. The building officers and the engineering department within the local authorities or the municipal corporation does the building inspection. What we contribute to on the wider basis is your emergency requirements in terms of the suitability of location for certain development. And you can basically build anywhere. It's how it is engineered, right? So it's how the structures are engineered. And there has been a lot of training that has gone in terms of the new code system, and the ODPEM is a part of that, and has always been a part of those trainings. So we can once there is a new or any new aspect that has gone into the building code, then you have training for the local authorities, Ministry of Local Government, the ODPEM, NEPA, all the personnel are trained. Remember, the academia is a part of the overall system, right? UTech is a main part of it, where a lot of the training takes place there. The Bureau of Standard is a part of it. So what we're doing, we're ensuring that we are building out and ensuring that our code system are modern as possible, and that we are looking at seismic standards, right? So
let me put it another way then.
Repeat?
I want to put it another way, Richard Thompson. From where you sit, are you comfortable with the municipal corporations and the way they go about ensuring and enforcing the building codes?
Well, in terms of the building, the development approval process in Jamaica, I am comfortable in terms of the development application process and how it goes through in terms of the formal development. But also remember that there are persons who operate outside of the formal process, right? So you have a lot of development that it has not gone to any local authority, no building fee has been paid, no approval has been given for the development and persons. We're always saying to persons, go through the formal process. It is rigorous enough to ensure that person builds to the code standard.
So how does somebody know whether a building...
Professor, gentlemen, stay with us. Professor, hold your question. We're up on a break. Hold your question. You'll have the opportunity after the break.
Whether you're overseas or in Jamaica, everybody wants their little piece of yard. Well, that's where a JMMB bank mortgage comes in. With JMMB, you'll get more support, more incentives, more benefits, more coverage with JMMB insurance brokers. And also, we give you more time to repay. Your JMMB mortgage expert will answer all of your questions and guide you through every step along the journey. You're not alone with JMMB. Contact us at info@jmmb.com and learn how you can get more than just a mortgage.
Welcome back to the cover story. It's 5:45 and we're talking about earthquake preparedness. Jamaica, as many must have felt, we were struck by a 5.3 earthquake early this morning, about 8 o'clock in the morning. It was 6 kilometers northeast of Golden Spring in St. Andrew with a focal depth of 27 kilometers. We have with us the Professor of Sedimentary Geology, Simon Mitchell, and Acting Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, Richard Thompson. Professor Mitchell, you wanted to ask the Director General a question?
I was just going to ask, how does somebody know if a building is built to withstand an earthquake? Since you mentioned that some people were building badly, how do you know if you're going to buy something that is capable of withstanding one? I know that we can't be 100% they will withstand it, but is it built to the code? How do you understand? How do you know that information?
Richard Thompson?
Director General?
No, I did not hear clearly what the professor had asked. What he said, how would someone know
yes, how would a layman, average Jamaican, know that a building is earthquake prepared?
No layman would know if your building is being built to standard. What is the requirement of the authorities once their persons are going through the formal building process to ensure that the persons follow all the engineering requirements that is laid out in their approved plan. Remember, there's engineering standard, how you space your rebars, which is what we call steel. Right? How many you have to put in your decking? How many you have to put in your foundation? Whether you're building raft foundation or you're building the regular foundation like what we cut into the soil and build foundation.
Yeah. You're talking about. You're talking about.
Allow me. Just a moment, Simon.
Allow me. I don't. We're not having a debate per se. We're just having a dialogue.
No.
Please,
I'm just
we'll allow you, Professor Mitchell, to come in. Just allow Richard
Mr. Thompson to finish. Yes.
So how deep you have to put your foundation. So you'll see you're doing construction and you have to, especially you're putting in bridges and you have to dig very deep pylons to ensure that the bridge can carry the weight that it is carrying, that it can vibrate to a certain parameter. So all these are engineering standards. Yes, you can have structural failures in a major earthquake, but a lot of your standards is to ensure that the major occurring ones, which is normally your lower end magnitude quake, that your buildings are not failing.
I don't think that's the issue, though, that Professor Mitchell is trying to highlight, Richard Thompson, because what he's saying is, we know that there are individuals who, let's put it in the Jamaican term, they cut corners. How will an average person going into a building know that this building followed all the necessary codes in place?
But
because it's not that the ODPEM would give a stamp of approval.
Gentlemen, please, that is impossible to know. There's no layman that will walk into a building, or no engineer for that matter, that can walk into a building that has already been constructed, that it have on all the necessary concrete type dressing and it is painted. They will not know. Where it comes in is when you're doing your layout and when you're putting in your structural engineering requirements. So part of it is to ensure that during the construction phase, when persons are doing the engineering layout of the building, are doing the structural layout, when you're putting in your tying steel and you're doing those things, or you're welding steel together for your columns and your beams and pylons and all these things. That's where the requirement is. The requirement is also in the design itself. Whether you're using 3/8 steel, you're using 1 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch. Those are the engineering requirements. But after that has been decked in concrete, no one will know. But you have to ensure that.
So what we
that
need
phase,
is a proper certificate that is actually properly signed off to say that this building was built properly. And if it doesn't exist, then it can't be sold, and then nobody makes any money out of it. That would be the way of going forward. The reality is that we need to make sure that everything we are selling here that has been built is built to the standard that it won't withstand every earthquake, because that's the reality of the world, but it will at least stand up to the normal earthquake, big earthquake that we might expect in Jamaica. And if there is not a series of independent engineers that will sign off on these things, then they basically shouldn't be sold. It's my feeling.
And maybe it's a better question for the local government authorities, Richard Thompson. But
That may be the case. But I think I would like to ask one final thing of Richard Thompson and change it. But
Go ahead.
We are now looking at a very active, basically hurricane system. How basically ready is Jamaica if we get hit by one or two serious systems, having already been hit by one?
Richard Thompson?
So, Prof, you're a part of the system, Prof, and you understand that.
I am part of the system, but I think that I need.
Prof,
he's asking for the average Jamaican, Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, but I thought Prof and I were going to answer the questions as we go along. Prof has taken over the interview, but nonetheless, Prof,
sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
No, man, I'm answering. I'm answering. Hello, me. Our systems are robust, Prof. A lot of times when countries in general are impacted by very large systems, you will sometimes require outside assistance. But you have to ensure that your systems are in place to allow you to operate and to respond to your events, especially within a particular time, and also to ensure that you can coordinate and operate for your system.
Right.
And also you have to appreciate that after an event, you have to do your assessment, you do your hot wash, you determine where you did what you did well. Allow me, Prof, please, allow me.
I'm just asking how
Prof.
set up. I mean, I was just down in Treasure Beach today, and they are still putting up power lines back up. And I was told that this should have happened, 3-4 days ago, because it should have been completed. But I was down in Treasure Beach, and they were still putting power lines back up.
Yeah, Prof, I can't answer for JPS, but
I'm not asking you to answer, but I was told that this should be the case. And
Prof, what we have to do, Prof,
and we don't have things back up.
Hold on, Professor Michel. Let's move it forward, Richard Thompson. And I want to hear from you about our preparedness in terms of measures that we can take to be adequately prepared should we be hit by a major earthquake. What do you think we should do?
Part of it, as I said before, is and I think I've answered earlier in the earlier part of the interview. Part of it is for seismic occurrences, what you want to ensure is that you're not having, and especially at the lower end of your seismic magnitude, that you're having building failures. So part of your preparedness activity is to ensure that you're putting in robust enough infrastructure. Your buildings, bridges, road network, you name it. You're putting in robust enough infrastructure that can withstand at your minor quake and your moderate quake. When you start getting to the major quake and them stuff, things can happen, and that's just the reality of the situation. And also to ensure that your population is sensitized enough that persons will know what to do in terms of how to respond when the quake is happening and after the quake. Part of it is also to ensure that schools, offices, and all these areas that have a large population throughout the day, that they set up their warden system. You know, you have your emergency wardens, person who can shepherd person out of the building. You build in a body system because you will have persons on buildings that are working on a daily basis and they have some form of disability. You have women that are pregnant, that kind of thing. So you develop a body system. So you can account for people and ensure as well that you do your assessments after the event to determine whether you can go back in your building or if not, you stay out of the building and then you get proper assessment to determine if the building is robust enough for you to reoccupy the building. You know, so these are some of the things. You know, what you do if you're driving outside and you feel an earthquake. You know, you stop in a clear area. You don't go driving over a bridge, or you don't go stopping on the overpass. You know, so these are some of the things that we keep saying to persons, and we always say to persons, you know, if you follow through and these systems, then you should be relatively okay in terms of how you deal with them on the moderate side. The major earthquake can take down a lot of buildings. You know, you will have buildings pancaking into itself, and those are just the reality. But those are normally at the fewer end in terms of occurrences. The moderate and minor quakes are the one you have to ensure that you practice the drop cover hole, like what your team did this morning, George, and the other young man there, I think it was Said, that was with
yes.
him. You know, you practice those and you get people sensitized enough where as I always say to my team here, that it becomes nature. It happens, you really don't think about it, you just react because it's so much a part of you. And you constantly do your drills. You know, so persons have an understanding that you don't go jumping in an elevator after there's an earthquake, because the light can go, you can have aftershock and those things that will take out the light if the power did not go in the first quake that happened. And you use your staircase and you evacuate your building orderly as best as possible. We always say the person not to panic, but sometimes that's easier said than done. But you evacuate your building orderly and you do your checks and then determine how you move forward. So these are some of the things that we have to ensure that we're drilling in the society and for persons to have an appreciation of, and so that they can do it whenever time these things happen.
We're short on time, Mr. Thompson, but I still wanted to ask you one final question, one really quick one. When someone is, say, working at a business or buying a property, is there a document, a report that we can then ask of the developer to say, this is how the building was built and these were the specifications used, and then I can take that document and have an inspector cross-check that information to ensure that it is up to standard? Is there such a thing that I can request?
Well, you can do that. There is nothing that we will have to say, these are the requirements that you should do. But there is a occupancy certificate that is issued for buildings that are constructed. And those are issued by the local authorities. So it has to pass all the parameters for the local authority to say to persons, especially when you're doing multifamily development, to say that you can occupy the building. There's an occupancy certificate that is issued. But if you are buying into a building, if you don't have the design parameters, you can ask to see a copy of the building design. But if you are so equipped to read it, then that's fine. If not, you can ask someone who has a training to look at it. So there's nothing to preventing persons from asking for that.
Oh, okay. We're out of time.
You could get a metal detector and actually run out the walls, and if there's no metal there, there's no metal.
that would be quite a way to do it.
We have to leave it there, gentlemen. But thank you as always, Professor of Sedimentary Geology Simon Mitchell, and Acting Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management Richard Thompson. Thank you, gentlemen.
The headlines are next.
The headlines are next.
Say hello to peace of mind and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan, and secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness today. Call 888-367-5433 for details.
The time by Guardian Life is
6 o'clock.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. The man seen in a viral video threatening the life of Prime Minister Andrew Holness and residents of Clarendon is alleged to have a history of mental illness. The 20-year-old man, who has not been named, was arrested Thursday night in Manchester. As we hear in this report, his threatening rhetoric in this week's viral video is not the first time he's come to the attention of law enforcement. In a video posted to the popular social media site TikTok, the man can be seen wearing a pink balaclava. He hurls insults and threats at the Prime Minister, his wife, and residents of Clarendon. The video circulated in the aftermath of the Cherry Tree Lane massacre, which claimed 8 lives and 9 others injured. The video was posted to an account bearing the username Akeem Blake 79. On Wednesday, Acting Commissioner of Police Fitz Bailey indicated law enforcement was aware who was behind the account.
We have identified the individual. Somebody who has been on our radar before, and efforts are now being made to take him into custody. The investigation is well advanced.
On Thursday, lawmen nabbed the suspect. He reportedly injured himself trying to escape. Nationwide sources are now revealing that the man may have had a history of mental illness and threatening behavior. It's understood the man has frequently threatened the mental health staff at a medical facility in Manchester. Our sources say on at least one occasion, the man issued a public threat to murder school children. This led to widespread public panic across sections of Manchester ahead of the start of the new school year. It's understood medical personnel have repeatedly raised concern that the man is a danger to himself and to others. At least one doctor had a run-in with him where he was said to be armed with a dangerous weapon. Sources say relatives are allegedly not ensuring the man visits the medical facility often enough for his prescribed treatment. When our news team reached out to the police for a comment on the record, they declined, noting that charges had yet to be laid. Medical staff also declined to comment on the matter. It's understood the man remains under police guard. The University Hospital of the West Indies says the majority of the patients visiting the emergency room in recent days have required admission due to non-communicable diseases. The number, close to 50, has forced the hospital to announce a temporary hold on the transfer of non-emergency cases from other institutions. Medical Chief of Staff at the hospital, Dr. Carl Bruce, provided an update. He says 90% of them present with complications from chronic non-communicable diseases.
What we've been seeing for the last few days is that we have close to 50 patients who we have triaged, who we have stabilized, and who need a bed for admission. So you can imagine what we have done is we've brought in extra stretchers, etc., and we've seen all of the patients. But once we've seen them, we have now gotten to the point where we can move them to the ward to take in the next batch of patients because of the volume that we're seeing. And they are mainly medical patients, as we call them, from internal medicine, diabetes, hypertension, asthma, pneumonia, stroke, cardiac problems. So the chronic non-communicable lifestyle diseases, if you wish.
As a result, UHWI is requesting that all private and public hospitals, as well as nursing homes, retain stable patients until the situation improves. The hospital says it continues to provide care for emergency cases and will accept critically ill patients who require immediate attention. Those patients will be transferred directly to the critical care unit as needed. Dr. Bruce says this is the reason UHWI issued an advisory to its partners at other healthcare facilities, informing them that it has suspended accepting transfers. He says the advisory only affects the transfer of stable patients.
We were at pains to put in the word transfer and to explain transfer, and we actually went back and said, make sure people understand it's from private hospitals, public hospitals, nursing homes, patients who are stable. We really want to highlight that because our emergency patients are who we want to make sure that we have an available bed, a stretcher for them when they arrive.
Dr. Carl Bruce, Medical Chief of Staff at UHWI. Meanwhile, the opposition People's National Party, PNP, is calling for the Ministry of Health to be transparent and forthcoming about the state of healthcare in Jamaica. Spokesman on Health Dr. Alfred Dawes says this call comes in light of the UHWI seizing transfers from all other hospitals and private health facilities. In a statement on Friday, Dr. Dawes says the decision confirms the health sector is in what he describes as a state of crisis.
The Ministry of Health immediately needs to advise the nation of how they plan to address this crisis. We need to know what the short-term measures are and what are the long-term goals in order to get back the public health sector to one that is functional, where we can have referrals of the sickest patients occurring seamlessly. Given the fact that the Cornwall Regional Hospital has been out of commission for the greater part of 8 years, and now the University Hospital is not taking any transfers from public or private hospitals, we are left with a situation where only the already overburdened Kingston Public Hospital is left to shoulder the weight of the entire healthcare system in Jamaica, both public and private.
Dr. Alfred Dawes, opposition spokesperson on health. At least 3 employees of King Alarm who accused the entity of victimization, overwork, poor compensation, and inadequate working conditions have received letters from the company citing defamation. The employees made the accusation against the security company during a protest in June. Speaking on Nationwide this morning on Friday, King Alarm boss John Azar confirmed that the employees were issued the letters.
3 persons, to my knowledge, have received letters because, as I'm sure you guys will appreciate, the right for somebody to protest is their right. Freedom of speech is somebody's right. But one cannot use that to then go in the public space and knowingly make what may be false and defamatory statements about somebody else. So I'm on your show here. Obviously, I have the freedom of speech to express myself, but I'm sure if in doing so, I made comments which were untrue or defamatory against either of you, you could exercise your right to protect your reputation and your brand.
The letter says, effective immediately, the employee has been relieved of duty with pay until Wednesday, July 31, 2024, the date by which the company said it expected to receive a response from the worker. According to the letter, should any of the charges against the employee be made out, there will be sufficient reason for the company to terminate the employee. The termination would be with immediate effect without notice or payment in lieu of notice based on the seriousness of the offense. Mr. Azan says King Alarm took the action because previous efforts by the company to remedy the issue failed.
Have you asked them to apologize?
Absolutely.
And they've refused?
Well, let's backtrack a little bit, George.
Yes.
In my interview on June 17, I said if I was in the island, I'd have met with them.
Yeah, man, you said that.
Okay. I got back to the island 2 days later. I had a staff meeting where I was in attendance 7 o'clock in the morning, and the 3 individuals in question chose to walk out of that meeting. because somebody who was a former employee of the company was not allowed into a staff meeting.
Yes, I was told that.
I met with the three of them myself at the bottom of the staircase, and I said, gentlemen, it's a mandatory staff meeting. Are you certain you want to leave?
Mm-hmm.
The three of them exited the meeting.
John Azar, Managing Director of King Alarm. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Sports is next.
How are you think? Pure water we drink. Me say a pure vibe when we touching at the street. A pure water we a drink. A pure fun, pure dance and take. Right now. A pure water we a drink. I could have room temperature. Give me one more. Give me the summer hot and chilled one outdoor. Crisp and refreshing. We know that for sure. The water we drink is pure. Everybody know. Hey, hey. Refreshing and nice. Hey, hey. The best water you can find. Pure water we drink.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. The second cricket test between the West Indies and South Africa at Providence in Guyana was interestingly poised, closed at the close of day number 2. The Proteas, batting a second time, closed on 223 for 5. That's an overall lead of 239. Kyle Vereen, 50, and Wian Mulder, 34, have so far shared in an unbroken 6-wicket stand of 84. Aidan Markram has so far top scored. He got 51 against Jaden Seals, a 3 for 52, and Gudakesh Moti 2 for 61. Earlier, South Africa took a slim 16-run first innings lead after bowling out the West Indies for 144 early on the second day. Former captain Jason Holder, 54, and Shamar Joseph, 25, held up the South Africans for a bit as the Windies added 47 runs for the last 3 wickets. Mulder, 4 for 32, Nandri Berger, 3 for 49, and Kavish Maharaj, 2 for 8, bagged the wickets for South Africa. Jamaica's national under-17 boys cricket team will be back in action at the West Indies Rising Stars 2-day league competition in Trinidad and Tobago tomorrow. The young Jamaicans will face the Windward Islands at Gilbert Park. Jamaica lost their opening game of the tournament on Thursday. They went down by an innings and 14 runs to Barbados. The 2024-25 Jamaica Cricket Association Senior Cup season bowls off tomorrow with 10 games. In the Western Zone, Hanover takes on Trelawney at Rusies High, while St. James will play Westmoreland at Jarrett Park. The Central Zone will feature Clarendon against Manchester at Serpy Oval and St. Catherine against St. Elizabeth at Port Esquivel. Meanwhile, the defending champions JDF will welcome St. Mary to Up Park Camp, and St. Anne will play Portland at Port Roads Sports Club, and that's the Sports Centre in the Eastern Zone. St. Catherine CC will welcome St. Thomas to Chedwin Park. Boys Town will entertain Kingston at Collismith Drive, and in Surrey too, Melbourne will take on KCC and Kensington against Police. White House and Fairfield United will meet in semi-final 1 of the SDC National Community T20 Cricket Competition at Ultimate Oval in St. Anne on Sunday. In semi-final 2, Lynx United will take on Junction Ballards Valley. In the Masters competition, Portland Masters will take on Angels Masters before Meadowbrook take on Bushy Park at the same venue. Joshua Zerkey emerged from the bench to score an 87th minute winner as a former champions Manchester United beat Fulham 1-0 in the opening game of the new English Premier League season at Old Trafford today. Eric Ten Hag's side was frustrated by the Cottagers at Old Trafford until the Dutch international Zirkzee, signed from Bologna over the summer, popped up with a late goal.
Zirkzee with space in which to operate. Casemiro, Garnacho and McTominay! Zirkzee wheels away. He's made his mark on opening night, and the sense of palpable relief around a packed Old Trafford.
In tomorrow's fixtures, Ipswich Town will host Liverpool in the first game at 6:30 in the morning Jamaica time. In other games, Arsenal will welcome Wolves, Everton at home to Brighton and Hove Albion, Newcastle entertain Southampton, Nottingham Forest will tussle with the Bournemouth team, and West Ham play against Aston Villa. Listen to this, guys. Manchester United are leading the league. How does that sound? Anyway, Paris Olympic bronze medalist Ginger Campbell won the men's shot put at a Continental Tour meeting in Germany today. Campbell won with 21 meters 64. He finished ahead of Scott Lincoln of Great Britain, who did 20 meters 74. British number 2, Cameron Norrie, has withdrawn from the US Open because of a forearm injury, which also prevented him playing at the Olympic Games in Paris. Norrie says he plans to take some rest and recharge, and added on Instagram that he can't wait to get back into action. With Andy Murray's retirement, Jack Draper and Dan Evans are currently the only British men in the main draw in New York. The final Grand Slam of the year starts on August 26. The Jamaica Badminton Academy is set to host a showdown tournament at the YMCA over 2 consecutive weekends, September 14 and 15 and 21 and 22. The competition is expected to attract over 100 participants ranging from ages 4 to 35. This tournament promises to be a marquee event for badminton enthusiasts, athletes, and the local community, offering a unique blend of competition, entertainment, and engagement. One of the standout features of this year's tournament is the introduction of the beginners category. This new category provides an opportunity for those who casually play badminton or are just beginning to play the sport and to compete amongst their peers with similar skill levels. This inclusive approach ensures that everyone, regardless of experience, has a chance to participate and to enjoy the sport. Puerto Rico won 5 of the 6 age group trophies on offer at the 36th Caribbean Amateur Junior Golf Championships at Caymanas Golf Club. The other trophy went to the Bahamas, while the Victoria Marley Award for Sportsmanship went to Stefania Mosianija of the Dominican Republic. Hosts Jamaica, 108 points, came second in 2 categories and third in another to eventually close the championships in 4th place behind Puerto Rico, 154 points. The Dom Rep, 131, and the Bahamas, 120. Jamaica's coach Jonathan Newnham thought his team played well, especially since the date change due to the passing of Hurricane Beryl meant that they could not field the full team as some players were no longer available.
It was a good week. Unfortunately, with the date change, thanks to Hurricane Beryl, we weren't able to field a full team, so that reduced our chances of winning the category overall. But we had some good individual performances, and I'm very proud of the team, the effort and attitude that came out. I thought, in reference to the 2 non-negotiables, attitude and effort, that they did well. And we had a few individual placings, and overall the team vibe and chemistry was good. So obviously, slightly disappointed, but we did the best we could given the circumstances.
That's Jonathan Newnham. And before I close, guys, please, Mr. Barnaby and you guys on the YouTube, I'll never ever join that wagon. Fill it up with something else. I play tomorrow against Wolves at 9 o'clock in the English Premier League, all right? We're going to take it this year. I promise you, Mancunians, you Manchester United fans. Just keep quiet, please. Thank you so much. All right, that will do it for sports. We're going to have more sports again tomorrow during the 9 o'clock news in the morning with Andrew Cannon.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:20.
For hard-to-get medications, over-the-counter and chemotherapy drugs, visit Dean's Pharmacy Pepin. When others don't have it, we do. Dean's Pharmacy. Feeling better starts right here.
The temperature by Dean's Pharmacy, feeling better, starts right here, is
32 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kings, and it's 29 in the western city, Montego Bay.
Together we're all people standing strong. 2 million Jamaicans, let's work as one. Such a course and work with a plan. Proud and tall, let's make the whole world understand. Every Jamaican have the heart of a champion. Such a core, big up with champions. Watch my style, watch my skill, watch my flow. Standing out anywhere where we go. Many goals, many dreams, many strides. All the black, green and gold, and we pride. Proud and tall, let's make the whole world understand. We are strong when we are one. Jamaican success.
The University of the Commonwealth Caribbean Recruitment Roadshow. Fast and easy registration. Informative sessions. One-on-one guidance. Join us on August 14, Ocho Rios. August 15, Maypen. August 16, Mandeville. August 21, Negril. August 22, Montego Bay. And our last stop, August 23, Halfway Tree. 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. each stop. UCC Recruitment Roadshow. Empower your dreams. Register today. UCC. Fostering leadership and innovation.
It is the 10th annual Good Samaritan 5K Health Run Walk. This year, our main beneficiaries are the children of the Community-Based Rehabilitation Jamaica, CBRJ. On Sunday, August the 25th at 6:30 a.m., we run, walk, and wheel to raise funds for children with disabilities. The GS 5K over the years has raised funds for various charitable organizations and assisted with community projects, health initiatives, and back-to-school support. For our 10th anniversary, we invite you to register for this 5K and give hope to the children with disabilities. To register, you can visit my.raceresult.com or scan the QR code. The GS 10th Anniversary 5K, Sunday the 25th of August. Race starts at 6:30 a.m., warm up at 6 a.m. on the grounds of the Andrews Memorial Seventh-day Adventist Church. The GS 5K, 10 years of helping. Help us, help more.
It's the weekend and the youth are taking over the airwaves. Yes, we are the new voices and faces of the Talk Up You radio show. The voice of the Jamaican youth right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
After a busy week of work and school, come and wine with Jamaica's #1 youth radio show.
We're bringing you entertainment, fun facts, and staying true to youth development and advocacy.
Catch the action each and every Saturday as we roll out buzzy segments. What say you?
Youth for chat.
Life skills.
Global Connect. And Bust the Youth.
That's the Talk Up Youth radio show. Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. Talk Up Youth, Miss Effie.
Talk Up Youth. Don't miss it.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Special good evening to our YouTubers. Feel free to weigh in live on today's Public Opinion, and it's quite straightforward today, folks. No need to waste any time. An earthquake rocked the nation this morning at, I believe, 8 o'clock. I'm gonna estimate. I'm pretty sure it's 8 o'clock, 8:01. I definitely felt it. And chances are, if you're listening to this and you're in Jamaica, you probably felt it too. So without further ado, the question today is, where were you? Yeah, at 8 o'clock this morning when the earthquake hit Jamaica. Where were you? That's what we're asking today. And yeah, I guess we start this off by telling, I guess as the host I should say where I was. I was on my bed, just sitting down. I was going through the early morning WhatsApp. I'd been awake for like 2 hours. And all of a sudden, and this earthquake was different from the other ones for me at least. You see, the last 2 earthquakes we've experienced, I didn't realize they were happening until they were done. The first one I was driving. The second one I was here in the newsroom, so tunnel visioned and writing news that I didn't realize that there was an earthquake until it was done. But this one was different. I knew it was an earthquake from the start. I knew it was an earthquake from the start, but unfortunately, in the shock of everything, I didn't necessarily take the correct protocol. I didn't find, a door jamb to stand under. I couldn't fit under my bed. It's too close to the ground. So I just sat there, man. I just sat there trying to keep myself together, and it went away. Some people said it was a very long earthquake. I don't think it was that long. I think this one was just heavier. Someone in the comments just said heavier, yeah? Marlene P says this one was very heavy. Yeah, I think this one was heavier. It definitely was magnitude-wise than the other ones. But I think that's why some people think it lasted longer. But if you were watching Nationwide this morning, then you saw Saeed and George in these very chairs right here disappear in the blink of an eye. Just to clear that up, they didn't actually disappear. People think we edited the video. We did not edit the video. What happened was because of the shaking, the stream actually froze for a bit. So you see them frozen for like maybe 1 or 2 seconds, and then boom, they're underneath the tables already. But it made for good social media, and it taught people what to do, right? You go under the table, you go under a sturdy surface whenever you have an earthquake taking place. So that's my story, at least. So I want to hear what the YouTubers have to say. What was your reaction to today's earthquake, assuming you're in the country and you felt the earthquake? Yeah, I want to say this is the third one we've had in a year. A couple of earthquakes recently, folks. We start with Doreen Johnson. Doreen says, I was eating my breakfast and watching NNN. So what was your reaction to when you saw? How did it go? Did you see the earthquake first on NNN, or did you feel it? That's what I want to know. Marlene P says they remembered what to do. They did, Marlene. That's absolutely true. And sometimes I worry, because sometimes I think, what if I'm sitting here one day doing pub up with all of you and one hits? Will I make a fool of myself? Am I going to remember what to do? Am I going to panic? You really just don't know what you're going to do until it happens, So that's that. I do hope that if that ever happens, I'll have my wits about me to know what to do. But we're going to go through the comments some more. CB says, I was in my bedroom looking at George and Saeed run under the table. All right. So there we have it. That's 2 stories. So one was eating breakfast, watching Nationwide. The other was in their bedroom watching Nationwide. So it's good to know that everyone's watching Nationwide, yeah? Experience the event with NNN. Who better to experience it with, yeah? Baby Toy says, me and my children were sleeping and then I hear a big rolling. Y'all were asleep at 8? Isn't today Friday? It's holiday, so I guess the kids could get some extra hours. I don't know. But 8 o'clock, some people were asleep. I saw on Twitter today a lot of people were sleeping. But I was not asleep. I'd been awake for like 2 hours already. So I felt all of it. Ronald Ranger says he heard it and then he felt it. Same, actually. That's when we were discussing this in the newsroom today, a lot of people were saying the same thing. They were like, yeah, man, I heard it first and then I felt it. I can't say the same. I'm pretty sure I felt the rumbling same time I heard it. There was no one before the other. But there we go. Patricia says, I wanted to move and I was frozen. And you see that, Patricia? That's one of my fears too, because like, it's a life and death situation because you never know what magnitude an earthquake's gonna hit. We've been lucky with the 4s and the 5s, but if we get a 6 or a 7, when things are gonna start falling out the ceiling, buildings might even come down, trees and all of that stuff, roads start cracking. It's important to follow the protocols because that right there is when it's gonna be life-saving, I mean, an earthquake like this, maybe you lose a couple things that you had on your counter. Maybe some stuff falls off like the dresser or something, but a heavier one could do a lot of damage. So it's very important that we, make sure we know what to do. We need to go to the door jams. We need to get under sturdy surfaces. Angie Morris says, I heard the shaking in the studio and the guest said, is this an earthquake? Yeah, John did ask the question. I love how John questioned it for like 1 second. He's like, was that an earthquake? And bro just went right back to what he was talking about, like nothing happened. Meanwhile, you cut to in here, George and Saeed are underneath the table, and John is just continuing on with his point. I thought it was very funny. But yeah, that's funny. Noel Chrissy says he didn't feel it because he was in Hanover. So is it safe to say this was an earthquake that only people in the south felt? Or was it just weaker up there? Hanover is what? Northwest, yeah? So, okay. I can see that. Based on the epicenter, I'm actually looking at it right now. It looks like the western parishes probably didn't feel it at all. I'm seeing, if you're in Mandeville, bits of like Trelawney, anything from there to the right, to the east, you probably felt it. But if you're in Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Senti, you probably didn't feel it for real, Or maybe you felt like a little tremor. I don't know. What else we have here? Who else has a story? Doreen says, oh no, Doreen. Doreen Johnson says she was eating her breakfast. She was watching and then she heard the rumbling, the place started shaking and she couldn't move. What do you mean you couldn't move? Oh no. Marlene P says, I ran to the doorway and watched the entertainment set dancing. There we go. See, there we go, folks. Marlene P followed the protocol. Who else do we have here? Donovan Walker says, only in Jamaica where you do the right thing like what George and Saeed did, you see people making fun of them. Well, I mean, it was funny, but it was also serious. Two things can be true, yeah? Sometimes you just have to make jokes out of bad things. Take bad thing, make joke, yeah? PB says, didn't feel it, Mahiri. So happy about that. I can't take any more. Oh, dear. Yeah, man, if you didn't feel it, man, props to you. Lucky for you, man. Because we felt it down here in the corporate area. Cynthia Matheson says, true, the North Coast never got it, not Montego Bay. Yeah, so that's what I'm looking at right here. It says, again, if you're in Trelawney or anywhere west of Trelawney, you probably didn't feel anything, and kudos to you. Wallace says, I was at my table having a cup of coffee watching the NNN show NTM Nationwide this morning. Put the cup to my lips. The next thing I saw were 2 empty chairs. So is it that you did you feel it though, Wallace? Did you feel the earthquake, or were you in one of them parishes where it was hit? Oh, well, CB says the earthquake was felt in Ocho Rios, St. Anne. Yeah, well, Ocho Rios, based on what I'm seeing here, St. Anne would be one of the parishes that felt it from what I'm seeing. So, yes, CB, you are correct. What else we got here? Melrose was in their bed watching NNN. Wonderful. I, too, was in bed. But, yeah, there's nothing I could do. I think by the time I would have gotten up to go somewhere, it would have been too late, you know. I think it would have been too late for me to find a safe area. The only safe area would have been the door jam. I can't fit under the bed. I don't think any human can fit under my bed. It's too low. So that's that, man. But I'm seeing a lot of people saying that they were watching NNN, and that's good. You know, that fills me with some kind of pride. That's good to see. But yeah, there we go. Suzette Clark, she was sitting in the office listening to George, and boom, earthquake. So is it that you felt the earthquake, Suzette, or were you in one of the safe parishes? Yeah? Laston Markland. I'm going to end with him because we got to get out of here. Laston says, I was in Hope Bay, Portland, heading to the beach when I felt it. There you have it, folks. Well, not everyone. Whodunit just says they didn't feel it. Fair enough, whodunit. I was going to say everyone felt it, but clearly you're one of the lucky ones, yeah? But you know what? That was public opinion. That was fun. Yeah, we had a nice little talk today. Some people felt it. I do have one of the lowrider beds, Bali. That's absolutely true. But yeah, man, that's public opinion. Thanks for sharing your opinions as always. It's not over yet, though. We got the business report coming up right now.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:33. Good evening. You're tuned into Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Consumer prices in July rose 5.1% according to data released Thursday by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin. The outturn is in the range targeted by the BOJ for a 5th straight month, though it has been declining for 6 months. July's outturn not only matches the 5.1% recorded for October last year, but together both are the lowest inflation rate recorded in Jamaica since June 2021. Statin said the rate was influenced by food and transportation costs going higher in the month. Items such as vegetables, tubers, plantains, cooking bananas, and pulses all rise, going up faster than the inflation rate at 7.4% in July alone, while higher petrol prices and the increase in toll rates for the east-west leg of Highway 2000 also contributed. Yet, despite inflation seemingly coming under control, hardly anyone is betting that the MPC meeting, which ends Monday, will come with an announcement of a rate increase. Internationally, China will impose export limits on anti-money and related elements in the name of national security, according to its Commerce Ministry. In Beijing's latest move to restrict shipments of critical minerals in which it is the dominant supplier. China accounted last year for 48% of global mined output of antimony, a strategic metal used in military applications such as ammunition, infrared missiles, nuclear weapons and night vision goggles, as well as batteries and photovoltaic equipment. The restrictions are being imposed in order to safeguard national security and interests and fulfill international obligations such as non-proliferation, according to the ministry. At a regular weekly briefing on Thursday, the ministry said the curbs were not directed at any specific country or region. And in the currency markets, it cost 112 Jamaican dollars and 29 cents to buy 1 Canadian dollar. It cost 196 Jamaican dollars and 86 cents to buy 1 Great British pound and $155 and 97 cents to buy 1 US dollar. That's the business report. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Stay tuned and like the video.
Together we're all people standing strong. 3 million Jamaicans, let's work as one. Such a course and work with a plan. Proud and tall, let's make the whole world understand. Every Jamaican of the heart of a champion. Such a core, big up with champions. Watch my style, watch my skill, watch my flow. Standing out anywhere where we go. Many goals, many dreams, many strides. All the black, green and gold, and we pride. Proud and tall, let's make the whole world understand. We are strong when we are one, Sagicor, celebrating Jamaican success.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
None of mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team. Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
You deserve a beautiful home. Join the expert Karen Booker, your design diva, this and every Saturday at 1 to 2 p.m. here on Nationwide 90 FM. Learn what's really behind the design. Access insights and hacks that'll have your home looking like it was snatched from a magazine cover. From cushions to curtains, choosing colors to carpets, Karen will teach you the secret of the pros. That's the Design Studio every Saturday at 1 p.m. here on Nationwide 90.
Get ready for a show like no other. That's right. Every Sunday from 8:15 p.m. to 9:15 p.m., we're bringing you the Harvest Hour, only on Nationwide 90 FM. Join us as we dive into a soothing religious program created for your mind, body, and soul. The World Harvest Mission Church, creators of the Harvest Hour, is dedicated to making your Sundays God-fearing and saintly. Get a front row seat to moving sermons and affectionate worshiping. That's the Harvest Hour, every Sunday from 8:15 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Come into the parlor, there's a welcome there for
Welcome to the Mayor's Parlor with Desmond McKenzie.
From 1 to 6 p.m. every Sunday, you'll now get more of your favorite vintage music.
Put your head on my shoulder.
Nationwide 90 FM will transform your Sunday into a musical time machine that will take you way back.
Come with me. Let's go back in time.
This magic moment.
Journey into yesteryear with Desmond McKenzie in the Mayor's Parlor.
I've got the music to jog your memory and make you smile.
Put your sweet lips a little closer to the phone.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy the best in vintage music.
Come into the Mayor's Parlor every Sunday between 1 and 6 p.m. here on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Nation's Business is brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Welcome back, listeners. It's 6:41 and it's time for the Nation's Business. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And I am Sanjay Lewis.
Good to see you again, Sanjay.
Yep.
Well, we have a bit of a somewhat some may think is a bit of a controversial topic this afternoon. Dancehall star Vybz Kartel is set to take the stage in Jamaica December 31 this year. The announcement was made by Cordell Scatterburrell of Down Sound Entertainment via social media. The announcement featured a photo of Kartel and Down Sound's Joseph Bogdanovich signing the concert agreement.
Although the venue remains undisclosed, excitement is building for Kartel's first show since his release from the Tower Street Adult Correctional Facility on July 31. Fans are eagerly awaiting the concert, which is being billed as a potentially major moment for dancehall. But can the self-styled world boss still deliver? Well, we're turning to three cultural analysts. We have Professor of Culture, Gender and Society at the University of the West Indies Mona campus, Professor Donna Hope. We have
Sanjay, I'm told that we're still not joined quite yet by Mr. Kingsley, that's Kingsley Rakshanti Stewart, the anthropologist, and cultural commentator Clyde McKenzie. We're still awaiting them, but Professor Hope, I understand, is on. Good evening, Professor.
Hi, good evening. It's Sanjay and Javon. Yes, good evening, and good evening to your listeners.
Wonderful. Let me start with this question that I saw on social media, Professor Hope. One individual indicated that Vybz Kartel wasn't exactly known for his stage presence before and after 13 years in prison. And the person indicated that they're not sure he's going to be of any better when compared to him prior to him going into prison. Your thoughts on that comment that I saw on social media today?
Well, I think that Vybz Kartel's first stage show concert, appearance on a stage post-release from prison is going to be less about his stage presence and more about just his presence on stage. So regardless of whether or not he is going to, wow the crowd with a major performance and historic performance, people are going to be going out to that concert to see Vybz Kartel and to be a part of what seems to be, a moment in Jamaica's cultural history, stage show history that people want to be a part of. So regardless of his performance style, if he comes on stage and says, aha, and waves this kerchief thing, the crowd will break out into a frenzy. I'm sure of that.
I understand we're now joined by Mr. Ragashanti. Good afternoon, sir. Let me put it to you. Is Mr. Kartel as culturally relevant today as he was, say, 12 years ago, at his peak?
Yeah, man, even more so, and remember, Kartel 13 years in there, but for most of the 13 years before them clamped down and probably government right, the man did still around the place, In song them did still shell down the place and go on with a bag of something out there and around the place until them finally say, nah, man, and he was doing so, in a limited way because he had to make songs that did not reveal that he was making songs where he was. And even with that limitation, without, being able to comment on current affairs and current events and whatever, which he's known for, and which dancehall is known for, He must still around the place. And the other thing I want you to appreciate too is that, like a Buju Banton, right? Like Buju is a brand and him have an appeal, an individual appeal. But people are more attracted to Buju for his music and his message. And Buju, the individual, is kind of subsumed on the message that he delivers in his songs. With Vybz Kartel, that's different, The people who follow Vybz Kartel is the brand. And in music and in lyrics come after. So people have got to see the teacher, them have got to see Addy, them have got to see him because him, them, is the brand. It's well, probably messianic is too strong a word there, but and cult is thrown around, but him, them rate, so them have got to see him. So, was that Donna that was just talking just now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I agree with Donna there that the concert you have a turnover because the people who follow him are him. Them are going to say him could have sit down in our wheelchair and a singing song them or whatever. Them are going to enjoy it, and then it's catalog though for them. I'm kind of too old for some of them something, But for them, in catalog, is just remarkable for them. He has really set himself apart there.
Mm-hmm. But Professor Hope, you heard Dr. Stewart. What do you think would contribute to Kartel's relevance? Because even in prison, his message and his music was still being played by many, in spite of you having several new artists, a Skilly Bang, a Valiant, and several others. So what would contribute to him maintaining his relevance, even though being behind bars?
Well, Kartel has a very particular appeal, and Kingsley did mention some of it, but Kartel's appeal cuts across a lot of age range, a lot of demographics. So Kartel's fan base, and you see a lot of that at that concert on December 31. People in their 20s, right up to people in their 60s, because of the time, it was December 26, 2003, and he has appealed to lots of people coming across those years right into now, and he has been able to maintain a huge following because of he's like a kind of anti-hero status. He's always doing things that rock the status quo that people think are taboo. Like you have a little road child, he knows what to do to catch your attention, and young people and not so young people are always looking at how you can speak to the challenges that you have with the status quo in a very lyrical way. The teacher, the lyricism that he has, the play with words, how he can create slang, that kind of, it's a lot of things that pull this appeal to him as a brand, as a person, as an artist, as a lyricist. I mean, he came out of prison wearing that kerchief thing around his head. And in a moment, people were imitating that, wearing it, caricaturing it. You have the animation go with this guy on Instagram creating memes with Kartel. All of these things are telling you that people of a lot, different age range, different locations are interested in what he has to offer, and he speaks to them in different ways, and it helps them to say things about the society without them having to go there and say it themselves. You see, he's a voice for many different energies, and that is going to show at the concert, the stage show on December 31. The volume of people are going to be there, and the type of persons, the different types of persons will be there.
Professor Hope, I have to put it to you and Professor Agashanti as well. Considering the circumstances at play here leading up to Mr. Palmer's release and all that has preceded, would it in really good conscience or morality, should he be provided with a platform to even come back, so to speak?
Let me give you an example. I remember, and this was in the 90s, I think, Raga, the O.J. Simpson trial. Many people would remember us in Jamaica here being locked to the O.J. Simpson trial. And it was less about whether or not he had murdered his wife, but more about a black man against a white system. That was all people were concerned about. And so Johnny Cochran became an internationally renowned and famous attorney because of how he navigated that case, and O.J. Simpson walked free. What came after, the system looked at him in other ways. But people are looking at Vybz Kartel in different ways. And one thing that you'll see people say on social media and elsewhere is that, well, he did 13 years in prison. That's that, and he did go through the trials and the various, appeals and the different structures to the council, and he has paid his dues. People don't think about that in the way that other parts of the society might say. We should then look back and, focus on morality, because that conversation is something that people are not going to have when they're consuming, a popular culture thing that appeals to their entertainment palette, that appeals to their own feeling as an individual in the society. It's like they've split the persona. That's Adidja Palmer. This is Vibes Cartel, and they are dealing with the Vibes Cartel persona and all that it comes with when they are consuming the product and the various spin-off products that comes with Vibes Cartel and, all that he brings. So people don't think about it in that way. They dismiss it, and their minds do not focus on that, because in their heads that has been dealt with. Let's move on to the business of entertainment, culture, slang, fashion, and everything that Vibes Cartel brings with his brand.
And Clyde Mackenzie, I understand you're joining us, and I'd like to bring you in on that same question. I hear what Professor Hope is saying, but considering what ails our society.
I'm sorry, Siobhan. I'm sorry. Good evening.
Good evening.
I've not been following the conversation. I just.
Oh, okay. Understood, Mr. Mackenzie. Then I will just put the question to you as I had put it to Donna Hope. Considering all the circumstances surrounding Cartel, his release, and what has preceded, should he be provided with an avenue and a platform to again put himself on the stage, especially considering what ails Jamaican society in 2024?
I don't see why not. The question is going to be a consumer decision. And if the society rejects him, then that will be reflected in their not attending his concert. I don't think we need to make that kind of judgment to say, well, whether we think he's wholesome or not. The question is, and this is not being venal in any way, but I think there might be a way of separating whatever has happened and the entertainment product. And I think that you might find that people will be saying, well, look, he has a rich catalog of music. I'm going to listen to him. Whatever presumption one might have about his foibles and his flaws, that's something else. I mean, the question is whether there is a commercial space for him. And I think based on what I would be reading, there is,
Mm-hmm. Let me hear you on the same point, Dr. Stewart.
Raga Shanti here. Listen, the people who follow Vibes Cartel, sometimes we underestimate their collective intelligence and what they know, all right? The people who follow Vibes Cartel, they live in a country where they have seen repeatedly certain people have certain complexion, certain people have certain social status, certain people in governance and whatever. They have seen corruption repeatedly. They have seen some serious, terrible things some people do. And they have seen nobody question those people or whether or not they should be given a platform after. They have seen, jail and prison, and they see that it's certain type of people in Jamaica jails and prison. And if you were to go by the demographic that's in our jails and prison, you would think that is only certain type of criminal behavior only happening in certain area, ghetto area, and amongst the working class communities and things, which is absurd. So they know that people get away with these things. They know that they don't have fancy terms like this is a post-colonial society with the residues of a colonial past that prefers certain people and give them certain privileges over others. They don't have those fancy terms. But they know who not get away with things and then see somebody jump King's house, fence and go pick some ackee and him there at jail. and then see other people do worse than that, will affect the country worse than that, and then they go to jail, and nobody question whether or not they should have a platform to continue doing what they're doing. So when them say a Vibes Cartel now, 13 years in the thing, irrespective of whether or not, he's not the most wholesome character, whatever, in their minds, in the legacy, that's something that will exist in our country for a long time, with the underdog and against the elite class and whatever, and things like that. In a their mind, the teacher hold it for 13 years. The teacher hold it like a G, and they come out now triumphant and whatever. So there's a vicarious thing going on, right? They say, I want to beat the system. No, I am not saying that Vibes Cartel didn't do anything that he should not have been held accountable for. And I respect the law. I'm a lawyer now, whatever. I respect the law and all these things or whatever. But I'm just saying, I listen to you, and you just ask the question, should he be given a platform, given what preceded him being here? And it would be very good if we asked those same questions of other people who we accord certain importance to them, and perhaps then the people would see some sort of equity in the dispense of justice and so forth, and then perhaps would be less likely to hold a Vibes Cartel up so high, as a form of resistance against the unfairness and the disparity that exists in general in the Jamaican society.
Is there
and I think just to pick up on the point that Raga exposed on so eloquently, that let me repeat again, Vibes Cartel has become and stands as an anti-hero in Jamaican society and even across the diaspora, all the way to Africa and elsewhere. That is something that can't be taken away from him, whether he is here physically or not. It is never going to be erased, and I don't think people understand the magnitude of that kind of vibe, that kind of, aura that surrounds him. And I think in a lot of ways, the conversations are going to continue about morality. People are talking, I see conversations about why they would have a concert on Watch Night. A lot of events happen on December 31 that are not about going to church. But somehow Vibes Cartel's concert becomes a challenge on December 31. Again, that kind of way, you're kind of putting it one against the other, that polarizing about morality and goodness versus whatever. People are going to, as Clyde says, choose what they want to consume with their time and their money as entertainment or, enjoyment. And this is going to be one of the things that happens. I know there are people who I know personally abroad today who have booked their flights to come into Jamaica. A lot of flights have been booked for that time period. People are ensuring that they will physically be here, and these are people who, again, are cutting across a lot of age demographics, class demographics, education. These are different people, so let's see how it works. Yeah.
As it relates to the concert, Clyde McKenzie, what message, if any, do you think that Cartel should send to his fans on that day, December 31?
I don't think it is in my purview to determine what message he should send to his audience. I think that it would be great if what he's saying there is considered to be wholesome and inspirational. Yes, but the thing is, I remember the lecture Cartel gave at the university some time ago. And he was saying at that time that he was being saddled with too much responsibility. Now, we must concede that pop artists and people of that age do have some role to play in terms of influencing people. But I think what is happening is that he is now engaged in a business venture, and people are going to make decisions about whether they want to be a part of that venture or they don't want to be a part of that venture. I think that the event, just at face value, have a lot of factors conspiring to make it a very popular event, in the sense that the time of the year, that is when a lot of people come to Jamaica. There is that the latent demand that has been there, it has been out of the public eye for 13 years. So even the curiosity factor, the fact is there is considerable resources available to guarantee that all things being equal, the show will go on. I don't think it's going to be a case where you're going to be wondering if it's going to be held or it's not going to take place. So there are lots of factors that really work together to make it, I think, a popular event. Now, there are other factors in terms of costing and other related issues, but that is something that, we just have to speculate on, the cost of the show, whatever. These are things, how much funds are corporate and all of that. Those are things that will also be indicative of how successful the event is, but and sometimes we don't have ready access to those kind of figures in Jamaica, unlike in the United States. We knew exactly how many people went into the stadium and the arena for Butu Bantam. We don't have that. So while we were clear on what the performance there was, we're not quite clear even what the performance for his long walk to freedom was in Jamaica. So there's that difference in terms of assessing, the success and all of that. But I think that, yes, I think there is definitely a buzz for something like that. People, long before he was released, years before, you always hear people talking about whether his cartel should be released, what would happen in terms of a show and how big it would be. And there have been speculation about just what it would be like. Now, I think somebody has made a business calculation that this is something that has enormous potential, and they're putting their money where their mouth is. And, I think the forces and the factors that, I see converging would suggest that it could be a mega event.
Professor Ragashanti Stewart, I would like to bring you in because I think there is an aspect that is not quite clear yet because we don't know where the venue is as of yet. But regardless of that, you are going to need the permits from the local government authority and the police. And I ask you quite point blank, do you actually see that coming across the police commissioner's desk and getting his sign off, or going to a local government authority and them signing off on a potential venue for Cartel's concert?
To be honest with you, I'm not in Jamaica for a while, so my ears are not in the streets talk, so, and I don't really know what's going on there. But I would say this much, guardedly. This whole thing with, that led to Cartel being where it was and the whole saga, unfolding the way it did. A big part of it, was, some conflict with the police, between Gaza Nation, Cartel himself, and the police, i.e. Sting. And after that, I don't know if you don't remember when Cartel did keep that thing at what was then Asylum in New Kingston, and the club did block, from Victoria Mutual go right down to what was Hilton Hotel, the road block. I have emceed a lot of Sting concerts and things like that, and I was emceeing it that night, and I've never seen Sting that empty, and it had big corporate sponsorship and the whole work. There is a lot that unfolded from that, in terms of, a lot of police money they tie up in something and lost. And then after that, Cartel's language was one of somebody who is very confident and untouchable and thing, and that didn't go over well with the police and things like that. And there's some animus that still exists there. And Cartel has never said anything to say, what, I live good with him or whatever. In fact, he has been quite, he has sustained his defiance in that. So how that will play out now, or whether, under the new commissioner right now, it's a different dispense in terms of, their professionalism and what they'll do, or whether they'll say, yeah, you can go ahead with this, it's going to be good for the economy and so forth, but we want some guidelines in terms of what can be said and what cannot be said and how far you can go, and we want to ensure the security of the consumer and so forth. Perhaps there is enough there for, people, level heads to, come together and reach a mutual beneficial agreement. And then, and hopefully that Cartel would adhere to whatever guidelines are established, and hopefully the police also will be fair to, him and the Gaza Nation and them sure. And remember, Joe Bogdanovich is in the mix right now, and he's a businessman, and he's quite clever in many ways. So I'm anticipating him facilitating, some things in place and so forth to make this happen. But already there's some concerns, on the back end, in terms of politics and all kinds of stuff is being said already, kind of gelling with the question where you ask, so I don't know how that is going to play out, but some potential problems could emerge. But at the same time, there is the opportunity, for, something to, for them to come together and to work out something, and where Cartel can follow, what is worked out, and they too can follow what is worked out, and, and have, I think it's going to be in Captain Hall or someplace over in Mobile. That is what I'm guessing. So if something like that can work out, then fine.
Let me just give the final word to Professor Donahoe before we go. I want to hear you on the same question Siobhan just asked. Do you think that there will be some pushback?
Some of us have our ear a little closer to the ground and have been paying attention and, listening to the waters. The forces behind Cartel's concert stage show. Cartel is not putting on a stage show. He's a part of, a team that is working on the stage show. And based on what my knowledge is, I doubt that they will have issues getting permits and all of that, the kind of resources and individuals who are going to be a part of the network, the type of venue that they that will be used, and the plans that are already afoot is being carefully teased out, because of course Cartel having commercial value and that pull factor is critical. And remember, when Cartel came out of the general punishment, when he walked out, one of the first things he looked into the cameras and said was to tell the youth to stay away from crime. And he has been very insistent in a lot of the things he's saying. He's doing his other thing, but he talks about the value of time, of, making sure you use your time correctly. So even in the way that he's talking, he's still Cartel, but you can see that he has matured a lot and has matured away from that. And because of some of the whispers on the ground about the type of concert that's happening, there's an event that normally happens on the 31st of December, the estate that the Sans people, Nino and Shanti, put on. They have moved it from the 31st of December to the 24th of December, because they already understand that they might not get the type of support that they normally get, and so they are already making changes. So a lot of things are happening right now on the ground that suggest that there will be a concert. It will get the kind of, structures that it needs, and people will put in place, the people behind the networks doing this concert down south, and the team will ensure that everything is put in place so people are protected, and of course Cartel maturing into some, a version of himself, still, pandering to his fans and being very playful with a lot of things, but still talking about his own journey and sending signals in a lot of different ways about moving away from certain types of attitudes. So I'm optimistic, and once I have life and my feet work, I will be at the Vibes Cartel stage show on December 31.
We have to leave it there. Thank you, as always, Professor of Culture, Gender and Society at the University of the West Indies Mona campus, Professor Donna Hope, anthropologist and immigration lawyer, Kingsley Ragashanti Stewart, and cultural commentator, Clyde Mackenzie. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
We're up on the break. Let's take the break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from Kamala Harris. She has finally laid out her economic policy to the people of the U.S., and we're going to play a clip when we come back from the break.
Nation's Business was brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
You can have it all. Company events, birthday parties, or the wedding of your dreams. It's all possible at Grand Palladium Hotels and Resorts. We have magnificent event rooms and a dedicated team that will make your event the best experience that only Grand Palladium Hotels and Resorts can offer. Contact us at 876-619-0000 or call your favorite travel agency and ask about our promotion designed especially for you.
It's back to school time, and Access Financial Services is making it easier for you to get full marks. Whether it's for school supplies, uniforms, or tuition fees, we've got you covered with loans up to $3 million. Enjoy reduced interest rates, and here's the best part, no guarantor needed. So get ready to tackle the new school year with confidence with a back to school loan from Access Financial Services. Get the financial boost you need to succeed. Apply at www.accessfinanceonline.com or call 929-9253. Conditions apply.
You deserve a beautiful home. Join the expert Karen Booker, your design diva, this and every Saturday at 1 to 2 p.m. here on Nationwide 90 FM. Learn what's really behind the design. Access insights and hacks that'll have your home looking like it was snatched from a magazine cover. From cushions to curtains, choosing colors to carpets, Karen will teach you the secret of the pros. That's the Design Studio every Saturday at 1 p.m. here on Nationwide 90.
Welcome back, listeners. It's 7:12. We're into the third and final hour. And as Sanjay said, we're going back to the United States, where Vice President Kamala Harris today unveiled a populist economic agenda proposing a new plan to cut taxes for more than 100 million middle-class and lower-income Americans as she builds out the details of her governing agenda weeks after locking down the Democratic presidential nomination.
The Vice President proposed her economic platform, which include measures aimed at making housing, groceries, healthcare, and raising children more affordable. In a speech in the battleground North Carolina, it comes as her Republican rival, former President Donald Trump, seeks to pin blame on Harris for inflation since she and President Joe Biden took office.
Harris's proposals largely build on Biden's economic platform, reviving or extending temporary measures that congressional Democrats enacted in major packages when the party controlled Congress during the first 2 years of Biden's term. Harris said she would build on the foundations of economic progress made by the Biden administration. Let's listen to highlights from Vice President Kamala Harris's speech.
When I am elected president, I will make it a top priority to bring down costs and increase economic security for all Americans. As president, I will take on the high costs that matter most to most Americans, like the cost of food. We all know that prices went up during the pandemic when the supply chains shut down and failed. But our supply chains have now improved, and prices are still too high. A loaf of bread costs 50% more today than it did before the pandemic. Ground beef is up almost 50%. Many of the big food companies are seeing their highest profits in 2 decades. And while many grocery chains pass along these savings, others still aren't. Look, I know most businesses are creating jobs, contributing to our economy, and playing by the rules. But some are not. And that's just not right. And we need to take action when that is the case. As Attorney General in California, I went after companies that illegally increased prices, including wholesalers that inflated the price of prescription medication, and companies that conspired with competitors to keep prices of electronics high. I won more than $1 billion for consumers. So believe me, as president, I will go after the bad actors. And I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gouging on food. My plan will include new penalties for opportunistic companies that exploit crises and break the rules, and we will support smaller food businesses that are trying to play by the rules and get ahead. We will help the food industry become more competitive, because I believe competition is the lifeblood of our economy. More competition means lower prices for you and your families. As president, I'll take on the issue of the cost of health care. As Attorney General, I took on insurance companies and Big Pharma and got them to lower their prices. And together with President Biden, we've gone even further. We capped the price of insulin at $35 a month, and the total cost of prescription drugs at $2,000 a year for seniors. We let Medicare negotiate lower drug prices for seniors. And just yesterday, we announced that we are lowering the price by up to 80% for 10 more life-saving drugs. And I pledge to continue this progress. I'll lower the cost of insulin and prescription drugs for everyone with your support, not only our seniors. And demand transparency from the middlemen who operate between Big Pharma and the insurance companies who use opaque practices to raise your drug prices and profit off your need for medicine. As president, I will work in partnership with industry to build the housing we need both to rent and to buy. We will take down barriers and cut red tape, including at the state and local levels. And by the end of my first term, we will end America's housing shortage by building 3 million new homes and rentals that are affordable for the middle class. So in addition, while we work on the housing shortage, my administration will provide first-time home buyers with $25,000 to help with the down payment on a new home. Finally, there's one more way I will help families deal with rising costs, and that's by letting you keep more of your hard-earned money. Under my plan, more than 100 million Americans will get a tax cut, and we will do this by restoring 2 tax cuts designed to help middle class and working Americans. The Earned Income Tax Credit the child tax credit. Through which millions of Americans with children got to keep more of their hard-earned income. We know this works and has a direct impact on so many issues, including child poverty. We know it works. So as president, I'll not only restore that tax cut, but expand it. We will provide $6,000 in tax relief to families during the first year of a child's life. Now think what that means. Think what that means. That is a vital, vital year of critical development of a child. And the cost can really add up, especially for young parents who need to buy diapers and clothes and a car seat and so much else. And we will do this while reducing the deficit. Compare my plan with what Donald Trump intends to do. He plans to give billionaires massive tax cuts year after year. And he plans to cut corporate taxes by over $1 trillion, even as they pull in record profits. And that's on top of the $2 trillion tax cut he already signed into law when he was president, which, by the way, overwhelmingly went to the wealthiest Americans and corporations and exploded the national deficit. You know, I think that if you want to know who someone cares about, look who they fight for. Look who they fight for.
That's Kamala Harris addressing her cheering fans in North Carolina and outlining her far-reaching economic policy. As she said, she promises to a new $6,000 credit for newborns and a host of other measures to say what she considers relieving the burdens faced by the middle and lower classes in the United States. You wanted to...
And I think Siobhan, what the vice president did was to show the contrast. And the point that she made, if you want to know who someone cares about, look who they're fighting for. A direct hit at Donald Trump. And what she also did was pay attention to what the American people, what they want. What are the issues? Housing, cost of living. And also utilizing herself as the example to say, look, I worked at McDonald's. I know what it feels like when individuals have to stretch on the little that they get to budget what they have to make ends meet. Yeah, so using herself as that example to drive home the point, I think, was excellent. And many have been calling for the economic policy, and I think that she clearly outlined that policy today.
Well, there's still quite a few aspects of it. I'd like to know the costing. That's something that usually comes afterwards. So I'd like to know the costing and how much this is going to add to the US's already exorbitant 35 trillion US dollar debt. That when you're discussing figures like that, it kind of takes your breath away. I mean, not to criticize Madam Harris's proposals, because many of these proposals are also things that would be supported by Republicans, because many of them have also been put forward by the Mr. Trump himself. But I've always been curious when listening to these proposals put forward by presidential candidates as to how grandiose many of these promises are. And when you try to wrap it and put it in a context of, say, something like Jamaica, almost immediately every Jamaican would be asking, how are you going to fund this? How are you going to pay for this? How are you going to do that? But it seems that that is never where the conversation goes in the United States. And I suppose it is one of those benefits of being such a complex and large economy that many of those conversations that you feel would be practical to have during these kind of debates and presidential face-offs would actually come to the fore as well.
You typically don't hear presidential candidates discuss the aspect of the funding. And I think now it's for the Republicans in response to hammer home the point of the matter of inflation and the cost of these measures that VP Harris is putting forward and what it will cost the American people. So it is now for them to respond, hitting as it relates to the cost. And hopefully she'll be able to respond outlining how she proposed to fund such a great or a massive cost that it would cause on the budget.
So, as I said, I look forward to the reviews because I know that there is a government organization, I can't remember the name of it just now, in the United States, that following many of these economic announcements, they actually put out a release saying, this is what we believe will be the cost to the federal government, and explains how much in terms of additional taxes would be required to fund those arrangements. So I'm looking forward to seeing that document and seeing exactly how much it will be costed. But as I said, I can't fault Kamala Harris for doing this because Mr. Trump is doing the exact same thing on the Republican side, talking about cutting taxes for X groups, talking about, I think they share one commonality is that they both want to remove federal taxes for the senior citizens as well as taxes on tips that are collected at the lowest income bracket. So we shall see how these things pan out in the coming weeks and days because the devil is always in the details.
Yeah, but certainly what she's doing, though, is catering to her audience and telling them what they really need to hear. Yeah? So, and selling this message, Siobhan, of hope. Yeah, hope for those who are in the middle class, hope for individuals who they don't earn a lot and they have to make ends meet. And she's trying to sell herself as the president that will ensure that they survive in a world or in a United States where the big boys tend to earn so much and those who are in the middle class tend to earn so little.
Yes, and she hit the nail on the head on the cost of living crises that's being faced the world over, including in the United States, the housing shortages that are being faced there as well as other niggling issues that are always pain points in the United States, such as the price of consumer drugs and other issues. So she has hit the nail on the head in terms of what needs to be done. But I think one avenue of attack that's already formulating on the Republican side is to say that, well, you had control of the economy for the last 4 years, so why aren't many of these concerns and issues now addressed 4 years later? Why should you be given another 4 years at the helm when inflation is an issue, when employment is an issue still after 4 years in government? So that avenue of attack is already being formulated on the Republican side. So I suppose the vice president here now has to put forward to say that, well, we have been addressing many of these issues and give us another 4 years and we will continue to address these issues.
Which is exactly what she's doing, because in the speech she sought to show the American people that her administration will build on the foundation put forward by the Biden-Harris administration. And rightly so, the Republicans are tagging her to a Biden to say, you have been there, these are the things that you have done, why should the American people give you another opportunity?
So, I mean, they're saying that it always comes down to the economy. We'll see how these messages play out in terms of their polling. As I understand it, she is edging out Donald Trump based on the real clear politics average. She's up by 1 point over him across all polls, and she is still slightly behind in some battleground states, but she is also ahead in others. So we'll see how this plays out over in the coming weeks. But listeners, it's 7:28 and it's time for your calls now. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255. Come join and chat with us for this Friday edition of Nationwide at 5.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Looking to rent a fully operational production studio? Then Nationwide 90 FM has got you covered. We have flexible options to meet your recording needs any day of the week. Monday to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays available upon request. Bookings must be made in advance. Call us today at 630-1210. Let us help you reach your production desires.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking them.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team. Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
It's the weekend and the youth are taking over the airwaves. Yes, we are the new voices and faces of the Talk Up You radio show. The voice of the Jamaican youth right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
After a busy week of work and school, come and wine with Jamaica's #1 youth radio show.
We're bringing you entertainment, fun facts, and staying true to youth development and advocacy.
Catch the action each and every Saturday as we roll out buzzy segments. What say you?
Youth for chat.
Life skills.
Global Connect.
And Bust the Youth.
That's the Talk Up Youth radio show. Saturdays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
Talk Up Youth, Miss Effie.
Talk Up Youth. Don't miss it.
Welcome back, listeners, viewers. It's 7:32. As I said, we're taking your calls. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255. But before we go to our first caller, I have to go back to the matter of the Adidja Palmer concert and the interview we had earlier. I see the comments in the YouTube regarding the concerns raised, and I can appreciate them, but I think listeners, viewers, many of you have to appreciate that as much as you might dislike Mr. Palmer, his views, his message, and things he has said and done in the past, he is still someone of, I want to say, choose my words very carefully here, relevance to the cultural zeitgeist. I'm going to put it that way. And
it's a strong conversation happening in the YouTube.
so I'm going to put it that way. I'm going to choose my words very carefully. So he has relevance to the cultural zeitgeist, and in many instances, discussions surrounding him cannot be ignored. I'm going to leave it at that. As a broadcaster, there's not much I can say beyond that. I can't give you some aspects of my personal views on radio as a broadcaster, but I will leave it at that. So go ahead, Sanjay.
I want to just say hello to Jacqueline Thomas and Margot. They are in the chat defending us, Siobhan, and I want to say hello to them and all the YouTubers. We're seeing the comments, and we thank you as always. Some good, some bad, but we appreciate the feedback.
Oh, okay. So, Carl, you're on the line. Good evening.
Shabbat. Good night. Good night. I heard...
Carl, how you do?
Good night. Good night.
Yeah, man, we're hearing you. Go ahead.
Hello?
We're hearing you. Go ahead, Carl.
Okay, I heard Dr. Dawes this evening say the hospital have never been in the most worst condition that him have ever seen. I can say to Dr. Dawes, that's a lie from the pit of hell. Dr. Dawes, we don't hear of no doctor have a cut of soap and have a plastic bag around them. That's a lie, but we don't expect no better from you, Dr. Dawes. Because the person who you are will lead you, doesn't speak the truth. So we don't expect no better from you, Dawes. That's the first one. Don't expect no better from you. Because you forgot, so we've been calling upon you to tell you what happened into the Savlamar Hospital when you was the head of it. You will answer to that. You ask Dr. Tufton this evening to answer to a lot of questions. We are asking you to answer to us. What happened at the Savlamar Hospital when you did have to use a scandal bag to tie around you to do surgery? You used to have to organize to cut one soap in a 4. That is not happening under this administration the last 8 years, Dr. Das.
Carl, I hear you, but all that aside, Carl, are you not concerned about the situation up at UHWI where they've had to temporarily suspend taking additional...
Let me ask you something, Shaban. If you see something is happening, don't you just have to take precaution?
I agree with you, Carl, that
okay.
It may be considered, Dr. Dawes' comments may be considered hyperbolic, but he has pointed to an underlying issue in terms of where our healthcare system seems to be under strain, temporary as it may be. So does that not concern you?
All of these people who are coming down, it's not yesterday they get sick. There's a long sickness them have long time ago now.
But Carl, the point that Dr. Dawes is saying is that Cornwall Regional has been out of commission in essence for a while.
Hold on the liquor. Dr. Dawes' party did inner office for 18 and a half
No, man,
years.
we're not talking about the past, Carl. We're talking about what is happening now.
And that old hospital of Montego Bay, when you go down off a long hill, he used to turn over like it come in a Catadupa St. James come up. What, to be very honest to you, what the government should have done was to just knock down that piece of garbage and put a hospital that have finished already. I agree with you there, sir. But Dr. Dawes have nothing to say about that. In part, he was there for 18 and a half years. You remember what used to happen on a children's hospital right beside Stadium there, sir? Who for government did in our office? Dr. Dawes. When he need to use scandal bag to tie around him, which government did in our office? For him, government.
But Carl, the point that he's raising, he's saying that, and follow me. We know the issues at Cornwall Regional. No, but hold on. We know the issues at Cornwall Regional. Carl, just let me make the point. We know the issues at Cornwall Regional, and you know of it too. UHWI is no longer receiving patients because they're overwhelmed. And we know the problems at KPH, and those are the 3 main hospitals. So the point that he's making is, with Cornwall Regional, the challenge is there. UHWI no longer accepting patients, and KPH is already burdened. There is a problem. So he's raising those concerns. Wouldn't you agree that those concerns are valid?
We don't need to hear nothing from Dr. Dawes more than what happened at Westmoreland at the Savlamar Hospital. Let me tell you something, young man. If you look at when the coronavirus did come in Jamaica, the world did say everybody dead off of Jamaica. And we have a government with a minister of health, Christopher Tufton, and it takes us through better than a lot of countries have resources more than us. So it doesn't need to hear nothing from Dr. Dawes. All we need to hear what happened at the Savlamar Hospital. That's what we need to hear. Come with that. Give us that. And Dr. The government take us through coronavirus. You remember how everywhere you did turn, Jamaica did all crumble under coronavirus. And we went through far better. And country we have resources, could have did fun and all kind of things.
Let me say this, because as I said, I will agree with you that I feel that Dr. Dawes' comments about Jamaica's healthcare system being in the worst state it has ever been is a bit hyperbolic.
Exactly, it's a lie. But you won't say it is a lie, but I can say it is a lie. It is a lie. From the pit of hell.
But and I understand that Carl Bruce was on this morning and he explained the situation that they're being overburdened because of non-communicable diseases or cases from non-communicable diseases. And that is also, I suppose, more of a wellness issue, a health and wellness issue that I believe the government is trying to tackle, this matter of NCDs that has completely overburdened the healthcare system. And it is now being made manifest in this matter up at UHWI. So while, as I said, I don't feel that Dr. Dawes is right in suggesting that it is the worst state that the healthcare system has been in, when matters such as this crop up, it is necessary to highlight them so that some issues can be solved.
Highlight it with truth. Highlight it with truth. But when you go say the healthcare system in Jamaica is into the worst condition, you are lying.
All right, Carl.
And I will stand up in front of him and tell him that same in lying out of his front teeth.
All right, Carl.
Speak the truth.
Thank you, Carl.
All right, Cedric, good evening. You're on the line.
Yes, good evening, guys. How you doing?
Doing quite well.
We're good.
Yeah, like Carl, why are we afraid, our journalists are afraid to say these, some of these people tell lies? They lie. A lie is a lie. If you point to the fact of them and say, but this is not so, they're lying. I don't see anything wrong with telling people that they're lying in front of the face on a program that you have them on. If we start to put these things in their faces, they will stop coming on the radio and go on platforms and say these things because they will know that people know that they're telling lies. It is time for us to confront them, man.
So do you believe that Dr. Dawes is inaccurate in his statement when he suggested that the healthcare system is currently the worst it has ever been? I'm asking you that as the question.
Of course it is. He's lying. Of course, that is way far from the truth. Far from the truth.
And it is.
We are putting up new hospitals. But they have been in the club. How many hospitals have they created? They are run down under their stewardship. They are run down under their watch. All of them.
And it's important for the government to highlight those benefits that have been gained over the last 7 years of their administration.
And they are doing that, but they are doing that. But when people like Dr. Dawes, who's a spokesperson for the people, come and say these things, we must confront them with it. We must call them out. Yeah, we must call them out, man. We must allow them to get away with these things.
That is the duty of the government and people like you to point that out.
Wait. Government is saying so on every occasion they get. But the broadcasters, like the news reporters, are also there to say, this is what this man says, this is what is happening. This is what this man said, this is what is happening. But they're not doing
But don't you think, Carl, I was saying Carl, don't you think, though, caller, that
Cedric.
It's his opinion, Cedric, don't you think that it's his opinion when viewing the state of our healthcare system, that he's of the belief that it's the worst ever? And as Siobhan indicated, it's now the government's responsibility to respond. No. It's just all part of the politics.
It is not the government's responsibility alone. That's what I'm saying to you guys. We have the government.
So what you're saying is that the media should play a PR for the government?
No. You see that? No, there's no PR there. It's presenting the facts. It is presenting the facts to the public. You guys have the fact. You know what the government, unless you don't be the government either. Unless you are saying what the government is saying either, so you don't support what they say.
No, but I've already stated that I don't believe Dr. Dawes is accurate when he suggests that the healthcare system is the worst it's ever been. I've said that quite clearly. But I also have to point out that he raised a concern that has proven to be factual. And it has also is a concern raised by the UHWI and their administrator through Carl Bruce, who has explained why the problem has come about.
Yes.
And I now would like to hear from the government as to their potential solutions to the ongoing problem.
And they've been saying this for many years now. We have got to take care of ourselves. That's what they've been saying this for many years now. That's why the Jamaica move has started, because they recognize that what you call it, an incoming whatever disease is creeping up on the society, and we're taking care of ourselves. They've been preaching that for years now. And this is what is causing the hospitals to be overcrowded now, as what the doctors are saying. It is not any regular sickness. It is the diabetes and the hypertension that is causing it now.
But I am concerned, caller, that our NCD load could reach such a position in Jamaica where there are enough cases in the healthcare system to overload our ability to take additional patients at UH. That does have me a bit concerned.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I don't know why it's so large. No, but that is what is causing it. We've got to take care of ourselves. Let me move on to one other thing. The speech that Kamala Harris made since evening with all the help for middle class and lower working class. Isn't that what we are doing now in Jamaica? Housing benefits and the medication for seniors. Isn't that what we are doing now in Jamaica?
I agree with you, caller, but here's the thing, though. The United States has a different system than we do. Much of the kind of social interventions that we practice here are not exactly something that would be onboarded easily in the United States because of their political leanings, because of the differentiation in terms of political leanings there. In terms of matters such as providing drug benefits through like what we have here at the NHF, that's not something that the United States exactly agrees on wholeheartedly as a common good.
Yes.
So many of those common good initiatives that we practice here in Jamaica are not things that would be practiced in the United States.
And I agree with that. I'm not saying the same, but it is the provision for people who can't afford certain things that government is trying to do now because of the growth of the economy, because of the health the economy is in.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
This is what must be continued. We must continue this type of thing. Because in my reason, U.S. is just catching on to what we're doing, and I'm appreciating that. You understand? So I give kudos to the government because they're doing wonderfully well by us at this time, at this present time. Thank you.
We have to leave it there. Thank you as always. We have Cleveland next.
Hi, good
evening,
evening.
Cleveland.
Evening,
Cleveland. How are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. You know what? The problem with our country too much.
Cleveland?
Oh, I think we lost Cleveland.
Yeah.
So, Sanjay, I hear that caller. I think it was Cedric who raised the matter of Dr. Daw suggesting that the healthcare system, because I agree that it's not factually true.
Mm-hmm.
It's not factually true. Because
a friend of mine, Siobhan, just raised a very good point, because the NCDs that the caller made mention of, which is he admitted that it's an issue which affects the bed space that we have within the country. And as such, he's acknowledging that it's an issue. We have seen that it's an issue. It is something that the government has to address. So, yes, he's saying, things may not be as bad as before, and it's the NCDs that is causing the problem of the lack of bed space. It is a problem, and it's a problem that should be addressed. And I think that's the point.
But I think, as some of the listeners have pointed out, and some of the viewers on YouTube have pointed out, that it's not a matter for the government specifically alone in isolation to address.
Of course not.
Because we recognize that our society is one where our lifestyles are not particularly healthy. And
correct.
I wonder how we now approach it in a holistic matter, because, as I said, it is alarming to me to believe that our NCD burden in this country has reached to such a point where we have actually overwhelmed the capacity of our healthcare system to address its basic needs. That, to me, is alarming.
Yeah, and it is a problem. And I agree with you. It's not something that the government should do in isolation or can do in isolation. All of us have to play our part. Yeah. So I don't want anyone to leave this space thinking that we're suggesting that it's the government's responsibility alone. Certainly not. That's not what I'm saying either.
But I'm sure at least in the short term that the government still needs to address this matter of the lack of space up at the UHWI. And I said, we have to accept that Dr. Dawes is right in some aspect, because the CRH is out of commission for so long. It has shifted a lot of the burden of the healthcare system onto other facilities that may not necessarily have been ready for it. And for all the problems and issues up at the CRH, I do hope that we can get that facility back up and running as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's urgently needed. Yeah, someone just sent me a message about Savlamar, that they're also, someone went there yesterday, no bed. And we can understand the burden shifted to hospitals like Savlamar and adjoining parishes because of the problems that we're seeing at the Cornwall Regional Hospital.
Cleveland, I hear you on the line.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yes.
Yes, Cleveland.
Yeah, you see the politics in this country, is it killing this country, you know? Because Dr. Dawes, him should have shamed himself, him should have looked back. Those 3 hospitals that him referred to, UWI, Cornwall Regional, and Kingston Public, older than a lot of us. And they, when they were in government, they never even tried to put up one. Another hospital, right? And it should be telling the people, telling us, we have to take care of ourselves too.
No,
right?
that has been a very strong message of the current administration in terms of tackling NCDs.
Yes.
And what Know Your Numbers initiative
and
that Tufton has put forward is quite important.
Yeah, and been preaching that from day one, and I'm not taking on him, not helping to teach the people these things, or tell the people, encourage people about these things.
Yeah, you know, part of the problem, Cleveland, in this country, and you started out on the right foot, the politics.
Yeah.
We believe that if one side starts something, the other one cannot continue it. And we have a serious problem with continuity in this country. And for many years, there have been neglect in several areas, the health sector. When you look at the police force and national security overall. Yeah? And one administration leave, another one come in, and they believe that they must do their own thing and not continue on what the other one may have started. And which it's just a recipe for disaster. And we have to stop that.
But look how much things this government trying to do to all the health place them. They're trying to upgrade a lot of the clinics that they can take off some of the burden off the hospital. I'm talking about Cornwall Regional. They're still doing a service. It's not that bad as though they would want to look at it, put it out there. They're still doing a service. Look how much accident and gun shooting, and you don't hear that they're not taking care of those people. Just this week I was at Public, and I get good service there, and I see a lot of people coming there and getting good service. As a matter of fact, the doctor who was in charge of that area where I went to, he had 3 students with him learning the job right there, or getting their class right there. And good to me, no shame, almost have to take off all of my clothes there, and the 3 students is there, right there, two young men and a young lady, right? The doctor even said they're going to use me as one of the teaching moments for them. You see? And you know, but you must come on and make it look that bad, right? Just that we're having a extra time now with some of the sickness.
But Cleveland, let me ask you this. I as someone who is not a politician, I share your sentiment. But how does one win an election when you come out and say, well, everything's not as bad as it seems? I don't know if we can ever expect politicians to adapt to that kind of rhetoric.
It is to stop. It is to stop, because some people realize that what you're saying no go so. People who go to these places and hear him going on that way, no say it no go so. Because people go there and get proper treatment, right? And the government, you must admit to it, so the government trying to make hospital space available for people who get sick. It's a fact. Or even right up at UWI, they're doing a lot of expansion there, right? They're doing that at Cornwall, because we have Cornwall Regional for over the years. Nothing was done, no fixing, no nothing. And the government trying to almost build a new place there now. That's when it finishes to be high knob, place, right? But don't come on and make people get panic and spread alarm over, what they'll...
I hear you,
It's not
Cleveland.
good. Not good.
I can agree with you that alarmist rhetoric is not exactly
it's not good,
useful.
sir. It's not good. It's not good. When must do is to tell people, say, look, you don't need to take care of yourself. And that's it.
And that should be the fundamental message. I think Julian, as I said, Julian Sanchez on said Jamaica people don't take their health seriously. And it's funny, because we always say who can't hear must feel. But my concern now, it doesn't seem to be the individual feeling at this point. It seems it's the nation that is feeling. And then you wonder, you want people to be able to take care of themselves and manage their own affairs without the intervention of the government.
Yes.
But when it has reached such a point that, as I said, I am still alarmed to hear that non-communicable disease cases are what has put the UHWI under so much strain that they have to temporarily shutter some of their services.
Come on.
Is beyond alarming.
Yes.
That should never be the case in
and that's
any
not
public
a
health
government
system.
per se problem in that sense. It's just that we're not taking care of ourselves as we should.
But if it has reached to such a point where the NCD is becoming a threat, not to at an individual level, but at a state level, it may require the government to be more forceful in its messaging and its regulations. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say it is something they must do. It is a requirement of them. But I'm saying it has reached to such a point now that it might have to be incorporated into government policy, where they're more forceful in terms of the messaging and regulations.
You said that should be more forceful. You remember when COVID come and how they do the government? Say I'm a bad man government and I'm a force people to do this.
I recall how
remember
the
that?
backlash against
and
many of the measures in COVID time.
I remember now, as the Prime Minister opened him out, they have all sort of people threatening him. Just for the right. They're threatening him. Right? And people is encouraging themselves freedom of speech and what have you. Right? Come on, man.
The NCD issue might become much like the crime issue or economic policies in the past, where it comes to a head where strong action is going to not only be needed, but necessary.
Every morning I go walking, It's long and I sat down Sunday, I don't go, but every morning I
that's
walk.
good.
Right?
That's very good, Cleveland.
And I know it's
I
helping
said that's
me.
good. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Your health is important, and all of us have to take charge of our own health.
Not take care of yourself.
Thank you. I say full disclosure on YouTube saying, Siobhan, that we need to ease off of the fast food. I don't really eat fast food that much, I try to be healthy, full disclosure. I don't eat that much fast food at all.
I see Godfrey McKinney is asking a question that I never addressed on radio before, but yes, there's no such thing as reversing diabetes. I think the proper term is my diabetes is in remission, much like you have cancer in remission. It can come back, but what I did was I had reached a point, listeners, I had to take 3 weeks off from Nationwide because I was nearly half blind. And I took stock of what I was doing to myself, and some decisions had to be made. And what put me back on track was cutting out sugar, no soda, no sugary drinks. So it's essentially water or fruit juice for me. I reduced my intake of starch and things such as rice and switched to healthier things such as like green plantains and mostly vegetables. And as I said, in my personal life, when you're getting to the point where you're nearly half blind, you can barely see, and you're struggling just to get out of bed, that was the point when I decided I need to take my life back and not end up as a casualty up at KPH or another hospital in the country. And I wonder now if the country is reaching that point where we need to take our health back through very drastic means. But that's where we have to leave it. It's 7:59, and we have to wrap up, Sanjay. So, Sanjay,
and a good way to end, Siobhan. I think that message that you just gave to those listening, it's something that they can, take away from this entire discussion.
And no full disclosure. I know government fault. That was my fault. And I learned that lesson quite acutely. But listeners, we have to leave it there, 7:59. So we thank our viewers, particularly on YouTube. You've been very active today. We thank you so much. Our super producer for this evening was the very capable Sonia Stewart, who filled in for Dana Davey, who unfortunately had to leave us due to illness. I hope she gets better. And thanks to my compatriots in the news and production department, led by the capable Cara Powell and George Davis. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And I'm Sanjay Lewis. Again, thanks to everyone. I want to wish you a wonderful weekend. Please stay safe and be healthy.